4 p.m. and call a meeting to order. You want to lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please?
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Here.
trustee Withrow, absent, trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Right here.
trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Pogue,
Here.
trustee Johannes,
Here.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Here.
trustee Quinlan.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Can trustee is going to read the affirmation, cooperation of affirmation of cooperation. One of those three.
The statement of cooperation for the Peralta Community Trustees. The Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees is committed to our effectiveness as a board through an annual self-evaluation and the establishment of meaningful goals. We dedicate ourselves to functioning as a high-performing team on behalf of the people we represent and helping students reach their educational goals. We therefore commit to honoring and upholding these commitments in words and in action. The full statement of cooperation is attached to this agenda item, but in summary, we commit to 1, build trust and seek to understand each other. 2, be prepared and follow good governance and ethical protocols. And 3, model the behavior we want others to exhibit.
Thank you. Can we have a report of actions taken in closed session? Okay. 3.6, Chancellor.
Well, good evening, trustees. Tonight, we get an opportunity to honor our 2 outgoing student trustees, Leo Migliaccio and Ayan Malik, for their incredible service to the district this last year. Both Ayan and Leo really have done so much to garner student interest in participatory shared governance. They've been active themselves in both college and district-wide ways, both being students at Berkeley City College, hyper engaged in student activities, serving in student leadership roles there, and then also putting on events, bringing together student leadership across the district. And I feel like one of the things is that they've also led for and actually presented on improvements that they can see. Examples would be Trustee Malik, actually coming together with Trustee Migliaccio and saying, like, how does this work between the student governments? How could we have, more collaboration and more clear ways and guidelines, and what could be a better communication process or portal to do orientation, those things. And he presented to the Unification Task Force. They provided recommendations to see examples of those things. So they have lived out their leadership in real ways while going to school, and both want to just congratulate you both again on your graduation this last May, and just appreciate your good support. So I'll invite you both to come up. And so this says to student trustees, come on over here. Says, in recognition of your outstanding leadership, service, and commitment to representing the voices of students. So please, on behalf of the district and the board, to congratulate you both for your service. Yep. So with the trustees. Yeah, on the side of trustees. How about that? Yeah. So I'm really short. Okay. Can you get it all?
Do you want us to stand?
Yeah.
It'd be great if,
Yeah.
Okay, there. Or
there we go. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Congratulations and thank you for your work for the past year. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made by trustee Delphine Polk and the second was made by Rito. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice, trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Johannes. Yes. Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we have a Peralta Classified Senate report? Sorry. I have gone out of order again. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
So move.
Second.
So the motion was made by
I
trustee
wasn't
Reese.
here actually, so I don't know if I can.
I'm happy to do that.
Made the motion and trustee Delphine
I'll
Polk
second.
made the second. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice, trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Johannes. Yes. Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
I'll abstain.
trustee Quinlan.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Do we have a Associated Student Government report? Report? Do we have a Peralta Classified Senate report?
Good afternoon, everybody. What's up, Merritt College? I see a lot of my family and village over here. What's up, Mr. Johnson? Hello, Mr. Nelson. I love your lavender outfit today, ma'am. My name is Ronnie Edith Dimapasok Ramos. I am the successor of the powerful and wonderful Davina Malbro for Merritt College as the incoming student body president. I look forward. Yes, sir?
So we're supposed to have the Classified Senate report now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, she's associated.
Oh, Associated Student report, okay, okay.
Okay.
My bad.
Yes, sir. Well, I just wanted to stop by, kind of see everybody's face, kind of show face, and I look forward to the process of merging with Laney and Merritt. And I look forward to just building community together, unifying together for the good of all and harm of none. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful meeting today.
Thank you. Now do we have a Classified Senate report?
Good evening, everyone. On the behalf of all of the Senates in the Peralta Classified Senate, I have three spectacular reports. First, coming from our District Service Center. On the behalf of the District Service Center, Classified Professionals, and the DSC Classified Senate, we would like to thank Chancellor Gilkerson and the DSC administrative leadership for hosting our Employee Appreciation and Recognition event. The carnival-themed event brought us together with laughter, fun activities, great food, and the opportunity to recognize the years of service and retirement milestones of our colleagues while celebrating our DSC community. From the carnival games to the raffle prizes to the cotton candy and even the tattoos by Tamil's Tattoo Shop. We truly appreciate the administrative team for going the extra mile to make this event engaging and special for all DSC employees. From Laney College, we have the next report. As the 2025-26 academic year comes to a close, the Laney Classified Senate would like to thank classified professionals for their hard work. Your work does not go unnoticed. Just know that on Friday, May 22nd, every one of us played a part in students walking the stage receiving their degrees. Lastly, thank you to all classified professionals throughout the district for their assistance in planning the cultural and campus commencements held over the last few weeks. Various highlights from Laney is the Renee Rivas Classified Senate Scholarship, awarded 2 $500 scholarships, one to Fernando Ferrez Bravo, and the other to Carmen Martinez Perez. The scholarship will be on pause while the Rivas family and the Senate raise funds for it. If you would like to donate, please see Classified Senate President Ms. Hope Lane for more information. Other awards that were given were the Classified Senate We Rise Award, given to Hugh Schwinn, Joan Sue, the Flying Pig Award, Jen Jerry, and huge shout out to all classified professionals who received their AAs, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, and those who are continuing or beginning any educational programs, who are promoted as well and took a leap of faith and started a new position, and who showed up when life was lifing. The Classified Leadership Institute was held in Riverside from June the 3rd to June the 5th. PCS President, myself, Tashada Henry, presented a workshop presentation entitled Leading from Where You Are, Cultivating and Empowering Classified Leadership Development at Every Level. The workshop, which held 51 attendees, was the highest attended workshop on June 3rd and received positive feedback from many in attendance. It was my pleasure and honor to represent Peralta with pride and dignity, and to receive the feedback from classified colleagues across the state made me proud to know that I came from Peralta and to represent you. The 4CS Professional Learning Committee will also be hosting webinars from the Classified Leadership Institute presenters for those who were not able to attend the conference, so that they can also partake in the presentations. The next CLI Institute in 2027 will take place in Sonoma in June 2027. And finally, Laney Classified Professionals will hold their year-end celebration on Thursday, June the 11th. The final report comes from the Peralta Classified Senate as a whole. The Peralta Classified Senate would like to take a moment to congratulate and recognize the achievements of all Peralta graduates district-wide. And we would also like to recognize our own classified colleagues for the completion of their degree milestones. Furthermore, I would like to personally thank the Senate and its classified representatives that served on each shared governance committee this academic year. Your dedication and commitment to represent, advocate, and amplify the classified voice at the table is truly valued, seen, and appreciated. I also would like to personally take this moment to thank all classified professionals district-wide for their patience and confidence during my first year in this role of leadership as PCS president. Though it has its challenges like any other position, I am truly proud to continue to serve with dignity, integrity, and heart, and I look forward towards achieving our goals next year together in community. Thank you.
Thank you. Public communication on matters that are not on the agenda.
District.
Do we have a report from the District Academic Senate?
No, Board President.
Public communication on matters that are not on the agenda. None? Okay. Do we?
Do all of them? Do not. First, we have Brian Payne. All nine.
Hello. Good evening, trustees and chancellor. My name is Brian Payne. I'm an older STEM student and a full-time computer science transfer accepted to CSU East Bay for this fall, and unfortunately a victim of some administrative negligence at the college. During the summer semester 2024, I applied for a vital student loan. The college staff completely mishandled my paperwork, and that they were repeatedly telling me they had no record of my application. I had to go over to the head of financial office just to make my files suddenly appear. Because my funds were delayed by an entire month, I faced a wrongful home foreclosure. To save my home, I was forced into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. I filed an official grievance report at the college in December of 2024. I did not get a committee review until September 2025. The district committee formally determined in writing that the college mishandled my loan application, yet they refused to accept responsibility for the foreclosure. To make matters worse, in the spring of 2025, the lady staff gave me completely false legal advice, claiming that my bankruptcy disqualified me from receiving further subsequent federal student loan aid. This direct violation of federal Title IV rules forced me to drop my classes for that semester, skip summer school. It delayed my transfer to CSUB by a whole year, costing me vital career momentum. I truly believed at this point that my college ambitions were over and dead in the water. I filed a government tort claim in January of this year. The statutory 45-day review period has expired. 6 weeks ago, leveraging off of Dr. Apsada's open door policy, I brought the topic up to her, and she said she would find out, maybe so I wouldn't be left in limbo, wondering what's going on. I've received total silence. Because the district's own records proves administrative fault, I am requesting that the board tonight to direct the chancellor and general counsel to pull my file from risk management and engage in an immediate settlement discussion. This will allow me to secure the emergency living bridge I need to survive until my Cal State East Bay financial aid begins in the fall. In addition, before my statutory clock expires, it forces me to bring this matter to state court. Thank you, and I have General Counsel, Chancellor, and President.
Mark. Next, we have Elliot Fain.
Hi, everyone. Board of Trustees, Chancellor, esteemed Peralta Community College presidents. I am just coming up here today as we close out this semester, is also my last semester with the Citizen, which is the district's only student-run publication, as we all know, because you've all seen my emails. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Peralta, to Laney, to my advisor, Eleni Gastis, to my editor-in-chief who's here with me, Ivan Saravia. I never could have imagined that the last 2 years, I did not have a lot of confidence or faith in myself or really much of anything before coming to Laney. And it's really changed. I've really been able to put that behind me while I work towards this thing that is really about love for my community. And the journalism department has really given me that. Public speaking, however, is not, so great. I could sign up for some classes in the fall probably, but journalism itself has really just given me a place to belong and to do this work for the community that I love so much. I took the bus here today instead of BART because I love to see Oakland, and I love this place so much. So thank you all for creating that environment to me. I will see you in the fall because I'm coming back to Laney, but the Citizen will have fresh faces, and that's good. And thank you all so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Stephanie DeVito. Next, we have Jeff Sinceri.
Hello. Good evening, board members, chancellor, and assorted administrators from our district and campuses. Yes, I have read the agenda for this evening, and I do want to talk about at some point about the hiring of independent consultants, but I know that a bit later you'll be having a decision to make. I also know that there are many people here looking to be heard in regard to that decision. Excuse me. And I must say that despite my own ambivalence about the message itself, I think that the concerns from my fellow faculty should be heard and truly considered by members of the board, if for no other reason than to use them to ask meaningful questions when that time comes. The information is all out there, and has been, and certainly it's not anything new to you, board members, and this is an important vote, the gravity of which should not be lost on any of you, or any of us, really. While I suspect it will not be the last time that you hear or discuss this issue, this is likely the last time you'll be voting on it. So in turn, I hope you'll hear the comments and concerns of my colleagues this evening and weigh them along with the evidence and data that you've been provided over time and make your decision when you make your decision this evening. Sorry. I'll also say that as a reminder to the board, the administration, and my fellow PFT members, as significant changes occur over the next year or two, the district is legally obligated to bargain with PFT over the effects or impacts of the changes that are made. So whatever decision is made tonight, we should all remember that it's but another part of the process, and the process and even outcomes will be the thing that help us shake together as unified faculty. Thanks.
Thank you.
If anybody who submitted a public comment card would like to speak at this juncture during the public comment period, you're invited to do so. Otherwise, we will call for the public comment cards that listed item 9.1 at the top of 9.1.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Isela Gonzalez Santana. I am a tenured English faculty member and co-coordinator of the Puente Project at Merritt College. I believe that the individuals who are working tirelessly for this merger mean well. I'm deeply perplexed, however. I am perplexed with several points. One, how can the Peralta Board of Trustees vote on the merge to merge Laney College and Merritt College when Oakland Unified School District, the primary feeder to our colleges in Oakland, has not been informed or consulted? Have we asked OUSD and the surrounding communities, what they think about closing Merritt College and Laney College? Families deserve this. I'm going to quote a good friend of mine, Cesar Cruz, Dr. Cesar Cruz, co-founder and now former executive director of Homies Empowerment in Deep East Oakland. He's also a doctorate of ministry candidate of Pacific School of Religion. He says, we should be fighting together for increased state apportionment, not cannibalizing what we have. We should be convening community stakeholders, philanthropic partners, and local government to explore supplemental funding, parcel tax measures, and creative revenue models. We should be demanding that Sacramento treat these colleges as their irreplaceable public infrastructure that they are, especially in this political moment when public education, immigrant communities, and Black and Brown students are under coordinated attack at the federal level. This is exactly the wrong time to close ranks. This is the time to widen them. He goes on to quote, the president of Merritt College once said to the community, even though we're up on the hill, the college belongs to you too. This campus belongs to you. That is the spirit we must protect. Both campuses belong to our communities, not just the buildings, the identities, the histories, the future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name. Do you have a card filled out? Oh, okay. If you go ahead and fill out a card, then we can go ahead.
What'd she say? What? Oh.
You're good to go.
Good afternoon again, everybody. My name is Ronnie Edith. Thank you very much for the opportunity for me to become an emergency medical technician through the Merritt College program. I am an immigrant from the Philippines. I moved here in 2011, but I am also a citizen because of my father's hard work. Transparently, sir, ma'am, Merritt College students have no idea what's going on about this merge. Respectfully, as a child development major, Merritt College homes 2 facilities that takes care of children. There was an incident where 2 children got out of one of the child center and they got so far away that they had to be chased because Merritt College doesn't have a really good security team. With honesty, there are people in Merritt College who are staff, administrative people that have a lot of anxiety still, and they lock themselves in their office because of the fear with what happened with the coach from Laney College when he got shot. We don't know what's happening at Merritt College, and President Johnson does the best that he can to inform us with what's happening. Mr. Greg Nelson takes his time to visit us at Merritt College, but I just hope that all of you could also visit us at Merritt College and see what our community and village is like. I'm friends with a lot of international students, but we talk about this merge and the international students don't even receive the resources that other students receive. And that's because they have a certain visa and they have to follow certain rules. But fair is fair, and they deserve the resources too. We talk about this merging, but Merritt College doesn't even have enough food on our campus. How is Merritt College going to welcome the Laney students and all the other students on our campus when our cafeteria closes at exactly 3 p.m.? But our nursing, our radiology, our emergency medical technicians, the healers and savers and protectors, and the ones that go into our homes,
10 seconds,
right, to protect us, they don't even have food. So when we think about this merge, think about the basic needs of the students, please. And please don't overshadow the fact that Merritt also houses a lot of our incarcerated students. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it until next. Oh. Did you fill out a card?
Yes.
Oh, and what's your, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Giselle Georgie. So I have ADHD. That means that I like things to be fast. I love change. I'm an innovator. I've co-founded 4 programs actually at Merritt College in career ed. So I was greatly surprised to find myself 2 days ago writing a petition to ask someone to slow down. Now, someone being you, the board. Here's the petition. The titles include more voices into the merger of Laney College and Merritt College. And it says, the proposed merger of Laney College and Merritt College into Oakland City College has sparked widespread concern. The current merger proposal is fiscally unsound and will result in a funding loss of $3 million to $12 million every year. Moreover, the decision to merge these historic colleges has been made without adequately considering the voices and needs of those it impacts most, the students, faculty, and staff. Laney College and Merritt College have long served as vital educational and cultural resources. A more thorough, inclusive decision-making and planning process is crucial in ensuring that any changes align with the best interest of the communities we serve and avoid the pitfalls of decreased enrollment, reduced morale, and a decline in the quality of education. We cannot let this happen to our beloved Laney and Merritt colleges. So join us in supporting Laney and Merritt colleges. We are asking for another year of decision-making and planning before finalizing the merger with increased involvement from students, faculty, and staff. So just one more year before we do the thing. And in 2 days, we've gotten 179 signatures. That's just from sending it to, they're all program grads, current students, faculty, advisory board members, and so forth. We have not reached adjuncts. We have not reached students. We have not included them nearly enough in the decision-making. And there are so many questions still left unanswered. We really need to plan better. If we're going to do this thing, we need to do it really well. I know everybody in this
20 seconds.
worked hard and cares. So do we. Let's do it right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Public comments closed.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments.
Yes, and your name, sir?
My name is Kevin Pina. How are you? I am on the executive committee of the Peralta Federation of Teachers. I represent the part-time employees, faculty. I've been teaching at Merritt College for the past 3 years. It's been an honor. I'm one of those instructors who will only teach in-person courses because I realize the challenges that many of our students have with online and virtual courses. But more importantly, I just want to let you know, I was also the student body president of Merritt College in 1979 and 1980. My mentor was Dr. John Somerset, the first Black professor hired in the Peralta Community College District. You might remember names like Norbert Bischoff and Douglas Baugh, who scholarships are named after in this district. These were my mentors during that period. And I think that they would urge caution that they and the legacy of our 2 campuses are too important to just make quick, expedient decisions. And I think that Dr. John Somerset, who happened to also be one of the authors of Title IX, if you've heard that little document that's had a tremendous impact in this country, would also urge caution because he would be one of the first person to say that every action is a public action and every action has an accountability factor. So please weigh it carefully. I support the statement of our faculty senate. I'm also a former member of the Merritt College Faculty Senate, representing part-time faculty as well. So just remember what I said. Public accountability is tantamount when it comes to these type of decisions that have long-term ramifications for the public, for our faculty, and especially for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comments? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Oh,
Did you fill out a? Oh.
I was just planning. I'm Johnny Williams. I'm a faculty member at Laney College. I was planning just to sit and listen, but I didn't want to just seem like there was only people from Merritt who had reservations about what's going to happen here. We're in summer. Everyone's on vacation. Right now, we're having the biggest moment in this district. I've been here about 20 years in this district. The biggest moment in this district's history is happening in summer when no one's here to watch. To me, that just should tell you where we are. The comments about why would we take resources away from Oakland breaks my heart. To even gamble on taking money away from Oakland with no plan. We're dealing with faculty people up here, looking at people who were faculty members with me, how we would fight for dollars for our district. We would fight for workforce funds to do better by our students. And we put time in. Everyone who's a faculty member here or student here puts so much time into what they have here at this college. And just breaks my heart. When I walk through Laney's campus, I see a pool that's a swamp. I see a tower that's an abandoned building. I just ask, what are we doing? Who are we serving? Are we proud to be members of this district right now? For me, I'm proud of my students. When I hear these stories of how we impact people and how we serve people, that's why I get up and come here when I come here. But as a leader, or try to be leader here, it breaks my heart to see where we are as a district. To even be discussing this at this moment, to walk through facilities that used to serve seniors and kids all day long. My kids used to swim there. My aunt used to swim in the pool. And now we are literally taking money away from our districts. And I'm neither here nor there if it's a good plan or not, but the details are not clear. And to me, that's a gamble. So to gamble in this community with the people we serve, I agree with the comment that at least another year makes sense. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I know it's wrong right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you for your public comments. Chancellor's report.
Thank you, Board President Quinlan. On June On June 2nd, Measure A, the reauthorization of a parcel tax supporting Peralta passed with an 87% of the vote, which is incredible. I am deeply humbled and grateful for the vote of confidence in the Peralta Community College District, our colleges, our students, and the important work each of you does every day in service to communities. On behalf of the district, thank you to the residents of the East Bay for once again choosing to invest in public higher education and reauthorize this critical local funding. I also want to express my gratitude to our Board of Trustees for their leadership and stewardship, to our faculty, classified professionals, administrators, and student workers who engaged and made this mission possible, and to everybody who helped with the campaign, especially the community leaders, volunteers, advocates, and supporters. We share the importance with you, and thank you so much for your service. Yesterday, the Peralta Colleges Foundation hosted the annual Dr. William Bill Riley Swing for Success Golf Tournament at the Richmond Golf Club. What a day. We had over 80 golfers participating, supported by sponsors and volunteers out on the beautiful 18-hole course, and a great time was had by all. We raised approximately $130,000 for students. I want to thank our generous sponsors, including Net Experts, Future Flooring Group, Alton Construction, Piper Sandler, Diligence Group, Nolan Tam, Kitchell, and many others. Of course, a big thank you goes to the event planning committee, including our chair, Mahari Wise, Dr. Bill Wiley, Gail Pendleton, event manager, Margie Platero, and all of the incredible volunteers from across the district and community. I just want to say great job to the entire team. And I also want to thank Board President Quinlan and all the Peralta staff who helped make it a successful event. Thank you so much. Congratulations to Carolina Martinez, an alumna and current Student Equity and Achievement Coordinator at Berkeley City College, who has just been appointed to the State Chancellor's Undocumented Student Success Advisory Committee. Carolina helped create the Undocumented Community Resource Center, which launched in 2018 at Berkeley City College. This is yet another example of Peralta contributing their thought leadership on a statewide level. Congratulations, Carolina. I want to also offer congratulations to Ivan Saravani, Laney student and co-editor-in-chief of the Peralta Citizen, who was recently named to the National Association of Hispanic Journalists 2026 Student Project Team. With this honor, he will attend the NAHJ conference in New Orleans in July with all expenses paid by the organization. I should also point out that Ivan seems to be the only, let me just say, he is the only community college student among the 12 students selected for the project team, demonstrating both the quality of his work and the strength of Laney College's journalism program. Congratulations, Ivan. On May 14th, the Peralta Community College District held its 6th annual Raíces Latinx graduation celebration at College of Alameda. The event, open to all, honored the achievements of Latinx graduates from Berkeley City College, College of Alameda, Laney College, and Merritt College, offering an opportunity to celebrate a significant milestone with students and their families. Thank you to the entire Raíces planning committee, to board president Quinlan and trustee Shawit Yohannes for being there to support the students. The ceremony was wonderful, full of music, dance, and inspirational words, and celebrating with familia at the reception immediately afterwards was just lovely. So again, congratulations to our graduates, and thank you to President Melanie Dixon and the College of Alameda team for hosting the celebration this year. On Saturday, May 14th, 2026, the Peralta Association of African American Affairs, lovingly known as PAW, proudly hosted the 18th annual African American graduation for the Peralta Community College District. The theme this year was unapologetically walking in purpose, grounded in legacy. And it was a vibrant event, open to all, celebrating the rich tapestry of the African diaspora while honoring the remarkable achievements of graduates from all of the Peralta colleges. My thanks to the PAW Graduating Planning Committee, President Johnson for presiding over the celebration, President Quinlan and Trustee Yohannes for again joining the celebration of the class of 2026. And that takes me to the college graduations. Smile season came to its thrilling conclusion with the college graduations in the week before Memorial Day weekend. Merritt College was first on Wednesday evening, May 20th, at the historic Paramount Theater in downtown Oakland. Berkeley City College followed on Thursday, May 21st, on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley Memorial Glade. And on Friday, the 22nd, we celebrated the Laney College graduation in the morning, followed by the College of Alameda graduation in the afternoon. I would like to thank the college presidents and their planning committees and members of the board for helping make these celebrations a huge success. Links to photos and YouTube videos of all the graduation ceremonies can be found at the Peralta graduation site, www.peralta.edu/graduation. I think the best way to hear about graduation is from the voices of the graduates themselves. So I'm excited to show you a video with highlights from graduations edited by Joe Sullivan from our award-winning marketing team.
To anyone who has ever had a dream and thought your dream wouldn't or couldn't come true, I am here to tell you that this is what believing looks like. This is what striving looks like. And don't you ever give up on you.
Berkeley City College gave me more than just education. It gave me a sense of belonging, home. It gave me mentors, friendships, opportunities, and the confidence to believe in myself again.
The community that Laney has congregated is truly inspirational and I feel is representative of the Bay as a whole. This is a place where people of all ethnicities, backgrounds, and tastes can come together and be their true selves without judgment. What better community to learn in than that?
This was for you, Coach. At Merritt College, I found more than just education. I found community, I found leadership, I found purpose.
There was no shortcut, no perfect path, just resilience, this belief, the sacrifices we've made, and the courage to keep going even when you felt like you didn't belong.
The world does not belong to people who got it right the first time. It belongs to the ones stubborn enough, resilient enough to come back.
Many of us have major responsibilities that we have juggled alongside academics. We are parents, immigrants, reentry students, soon-to-be transfers.
And for many of us sitting here today, Education became the reason we kept going even during the hardest moments of our lives.
We all carry different stories, different struggles, different sacrifices, but despite everything life placed in front of us, we made it here. That is something that nobody can take away from us.
And let us always remember to live in gratitude, because gratitude keeps us humble in success and grounded through hardship. And to the class of 2026, we made it, lo logramos, nos graduamos. Let's go!
And that concludes my chancellor's report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Consent calendar. Can I get approval, a motion to approve the consent items?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Gonzalez-Ewan, and the second was made by trustee Johannes. Call the question, please.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez-Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Vallarice, trustee Delphine Pogue,
Yes.
trustee Johannes, trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 9.1. Update on board goals and transformation plan. Consider adoption of resolution 2526.212 to firm support of the transformation plan and creation of Oakland City College.
Do we have any public comment for this item? Please stand. We got Stephanie DeVito to start, followed by Arthur Shields. I apologize if I got that wrong. Oh, thank you.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Stephanie DeVito, and I've been faculty at Merritt College for 17 years in 4 student-facing roles, most recently as a mental health clinician in the Merritt College Wellness Center. I'm also a Peralta student, starting back in 1996 with statistics at Vista College, showing my age, and most recently with some online classes at Laney in 2024. Trustees, there is no undo button for what you're about to do. So I respectfully ask you to press pause instead. Not stop, just pause. And here's why. Operationally, from my ground level perspective, we cannot do what needs to be done to become Oakland City College in time for fall 2027 enrollment, which starts in April, which is 9 months from now. Our students deserve the smoothest and most organized transition possible, and nothing ruins a good idea like rushed implementation. If we execute this poorly, it will not matter how good the idea was or how noble the intentions. I've heard it said in many meetings this year that lengthening the timeline to merge is just kicking the can down the road like we've always done before. And I disagree, because here's what's different. We did not have Tamil Gilkerson before. We did not have this board or this management team who, under the chancellor's leadership, had the courage and the vision to look this beast of Peralta in the face and say, how can we do this better? The chancellor's task forces have spent this whole year coming up with detailed plans. They've done excellent work. We've never had a comprehensive plan before. So let's not fumble the implementation. Let's not make the mistake of rushing. The task forces have come up with a 6-point plan that includes amazing ideas like district-wide course scheduling, 6 fully online degrees, a streamlined process for dual and concurrent enrollment. Let's start there. Let's start with that now. And instead of trying to do all of the plan simultaneously, build the infrastructure we need to make sure that this merger is going to be successful. One of the things I've observed
20
about
seconds.
the chancellor's task forces is how she's brought together people from across the district in different roles to work collaboratively. That needs to spread out to all of
10
us,
seconds.
including rank and file like me. That takes time. We cannot do it by fall 27. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Alan, followed by Alpier.
My name is Alan Epps. I'm a student at Merritt. I'm really personally against the merge, but kind of destroying the history of both campuses. But at least like slow it down. Like, I mean, you guys are going to take away funding for programs. Like, I'm a student at Merritt. I'm also part of Street Scholars. I'm part of a bunch of programs at Merritt, you know, that help. And like Street Scholars has been like super helpful for me. Like, I ain't been to school in 20 years, and I came there and I felt at home. They gave me courage to get back into school and to further my education. And like, you guys are gonna take away funding from like, I mean, yeah, like I said, at least please slow it down. Like, I mean, what's the hurry? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it doesn't make sense, right? But I mean, like, what's the rush? You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone, there's no what good could come from rushing, you know? Like, let's just at least put a pause on it. If we can't, I mean, you know, me personally, I'd say stop the merge, but I mean, but both schools got history. Like, why you're gonna like take away the identity of Merritt and of Laney? Like, just doesn't make sense to me. And I know a lot of my fellow students feel the same way. I mean, if there's any, like, can we get like some type of in writing, like, we're not going to lose funding, or we're not going to, these programs that are available to us are going to continue? I mean, can we at least like slow down and like get things like situated before we make a decision that's like going to affect a lot of people? I mean, that's where I'm at with this. I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I just don't. I mean, at least please slow it down. Just put a pause on it. Something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Alpier.
Good evening. My name is Al Pierre Ill, and I'm a worker at Street Scholars. Now, this merge, first of all, let me put it like this. I'm a simple man. I'm a very pious man. And I see to put something together that's not broken, somebody's going to come up short. Are we doing this for the uplifting of fallen humanity? Or is this done for political reasons? You know, there's people that's coming out of prison. I was one of those people about 100 years ago, but I came out of prison. And I didn't have these programs back then. So by me being a peer mentor of street scholars, I get blessed to have the opportunity to uplift fallen humanity for people that's coming up behind me, that knows that there's somebody that cares, that there's somebody that's willing to say, hey, let me love you until you learn to love yourself. This merge, it don't have to be a rush thing. Give it time to grow into something beautiful. Because from my experience, when you rush, you're going to miss something. You may pass up a blessing. Not so much for yourself, but for somebody you don't even know. So I say, get like the snail. Take your time. Don't rush it. Put it on the back burner. I'm a very spiritual man. Let's see what our higher power really got planned. Not policy or politics, but what is good for humanity. I say, let's just take our time with the merge, because it's going to cut some.
10 seconds.
Okay. That was behind me. That's going to cut out some funding for somebody. Let's just keep the peace and take our time with this merge. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for your comments and thank you for your service.
Next, we have Tita. Tita?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tita, and I'm a student at Merritt College. I have participated in several student support programs at my time at Merritt that has been instrumental at transforming my life. I'm a re-entry student in recovery, and if it wasn't for Merritt College and Street Scholars, I would be dead or in jail. But instead, I'm going to be attending UC Berkeley in the fall. Thank you. So I am so grateful for all the support services I've received at Street Scholars, which were essential to my success. I wouldn't know what I would do without it. And I want to ensure that other students have the same opportunity for the same resources through these student support programs. The concerns that my fellow students and I have is, what is the rush to have this merger take place if the funding for these student programs are not guaranteed to be intact after the merger? Students need to know that these programs will have the funding necessary to support student success. And we are requesting an additional year of collaborative planning before implementing this merger. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Next, we have Bianca.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bianca Prazo. I'm here to urge leadership and the board to please slow down on this merger. I'm a Merritt College alumni who first came into the college. I was first generation. I was a reentry student. I was working a full-time job while also being a parent. I also came here as a high school dropout, as a felon, and as a student with disabilities. Because of the Wellness Center, because of Street Scholars, I was able to graduate with highest honors from Merritt. I was able to be one of the valedictorians. I was also accepted into UC Berkeley on a full scholarship because of these student support programs at Merritt College. Today, I'm a full-time faculty at Merritt College. I'm the program director for the Street Scholars program, and I work with both formerly incarcerated students and currently incarcerated students in the juvenile hall. Student support programs enable students to change their lives and the lives of others. Nothing was given to me. I had to earn it, And I earned it because Merritt College and the student service programs, they taught me how to earn it. But I needed that help. Many, if not most, student support programs are funded by grants, and we get grant funding based on the fact that we're our own campus at Merritt. These programs support our most vulnerable students, like immigrant students, reentry students, student parents, students with disabilities, students living with mental illness, and students who are currently informally incarcerated. We don't have anything yet that's concrete, legally binding, that guarantees that our student support programs will continue to be funded once Merritt is no longer an individual campus. I urge you to please secure legally binding guarantees that ensure that our student support program funding remains intact, not just for street scholars, but for all of our categorical programs. We owe it to our students to say we moved forward together on this merger, knowing that we're putting their success first. We owe it to our most vulnerable students to do everything we can to prioritize them, that we moved forward on this merge with their needs in mind, not just with a grandfathered promise, but that we fought to preserve their resources. You may be asking, where was I during the merger planning committees? As a full-time faculty, department chair for COSER, program director on campus and at John Davis Juvenile Hall, I work literally every day, 60 hours per week. I'm a student at UC Berkeley. I'm a parent to 2 children. It had been impossible for me to make it to the merger planning meetings. I needed more time. A lot of us needed more time to attend, to collaborate, not to hinder, not to undermine, but to collaborate.
10 seconds.
Chancellor Gilgerson and all of those who've been working on the logistics of this merger, y'all are all amazing. I see y'all's fierceness. I see y'all commitment to change. Chancellor Gilgerson is the best leader we've ever had. I'm not trying to undermine any of their work. I'm asking for more time to ensure that all the work has been honored by doing this together thoroughly. I'm just asking for us to have more time to do this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Lowell Bennett.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My background is in finance and investments, and I've analyzed the decision to go from 4 colleges to 3 colleges. And every time I look at it, and it's been summarized magnificently by Dan Lawson in his email, it just doesn't make financial sense to me when I do the analysis to go from 4 colleges to 3 colleges. Going from 4 to 3 means we get fewer apportionment dollars. And we just heard the discussion about the uncertainty around categorical funding. I think at least pause, but no matter how you cut it, you're going to be giving up apportionment dollars by going from 4 colleges to 3 colleges. So again, at least make sure you take a look at the analysis that Dan Lawson has summarized, because it lays it all out there. And other analysis we've seen has said, oh, it's going to be better. There's sort of a bit of a controversy, I guess, maybe a competitive analysis. But the analysis that says it's going to be better only goes out for a couple of years. It's going to be better. After you get past a couple of years, kind of a sugar high, after that, it becomes much less, and we end up giving up funds. And I think that's the last thing we want to do, because every dollar counts. Every dollar can be applied to the benefit of the students. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dan Lawson.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Dan Lawson. I am Vice President and President-elect of the Merritt College Academic Senate, and I'm here to urge you to reject the proposed merger of Merritt College and Laney College. The central argument for this merger has been financial necessity. However, based on the district's own numbers, the merger would actually worsen the district's financial position. Deputy Chancellor Greg Nelson, projected that a Merritt Laney merger would reduce annual apportionment revenue by more than $3.3 million. At the same time, changes already made to administrative structures of both colleges significantly reduce the potential savings from eliminating administrative positions. Using the district's figures, the maximum annual savings from administrator reductions would be about $1.3 million. The result is clear: a net increase in the district's annual Fund 1 deficit of approximately $2 million per year. While stability funding may temporarily delay those losses for the first 2 years, as Lil Bennett pointed out, that is not a solution. It simply pushes the financial consequences into future years. We will be using tomorrow's revenue to pay today's bills, echoing the financial trickery of previous chancellors' administrations. There are also serious unanswered questions about categorical funding. Merritt and Laney currently receive more than $20 million annually for programs such as EOPS, Veteran Services, Disability Services, Basic Needs, Street Scholars, and the Wellness Centers. The district has acknowledged that a merger could result in substantial losses to this funding, but the amount remains unknown, and negotiation with the state chancellor's office are still ongoing. Approving a merger before those negotiations are complete would be premature and risky, giving up any leverage that we have in them. This is why the Merritt College Academic Senate passed a resolution opposing this merger unless and until the district leadership provides comprehensive, verifiable fiscal analysis demonstrating a clear financial benefit to the district. This analysis has not been provided. I respectfully ask the board to reject the proposed merger and pursue solutions that preserve funding, protect student services, and strengthen all 4 colleges. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Donald Moore.
Good evening, Board of Trustee members and everybody. My name is Donald Moore. I'm an anthropologist, a full-time anthropologist over at Laney College, and a former DAS president for a number of years, Laney Senate president, academic Senate president for a while as well. And I wanted to talk about this because over the years, as I was here at the board, my concern has always been about 4 colleges in proximity to each other. And the issue with that is when you have 4 colleges all within an area of about 9 miles from each other, and those 4 colleges are in competition with one another, it impacts on funding issues. And over the years, for those of you who've been here at Peralta, we have had funding issues and we have had funding problems. And part of that has been this competition that has been going on. And one of the results of this, if we look back and we look at 1968 when Peralta was formed, part of the difficulty is that even though we're in this very urban area, our numbers have dwindled. Our numbers in terms of FTES has gone substantially down. And for those of you on the board who've been here for years, you have seen it. Literally, our FTES is equivalent of 1 college. We have 4. 1 small college. We have 4 colleges. With those kinds of numbers and the anticipation that no matter how much Lewis wants us to get other students, to attract other students here, we can try all of those things, but we need the funding to do it. And we don't put the funding into trying to recruit additional students or non-credit. We first started out saying, ooh, we could become a non-credit because of all of the immigrants that we have here. Our non-credit budget is still relatively small. So part of this is doing something. I don't know.
10 seconds.
I don't know if one college, two colleges merging is the way to go, but it's the right direction. We desperately need to do something in order to become more effective in terms of what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Janine.
Good evening, trustees, Chancellor Gilkerson, faculty, staff, students, and community members. I want to begin by acknowledging that this is not an easy moment. I believe everyone in this room cares deeply about Peralta, about Oakland, and about our students. I want to acknowledge the many people throughout the district who are working incredibly hard under difficult circumstances. I know this work comes from a genuine desire to ensure Peralta survives and thrives. We all know that our students are navigating housing and food insecurity, caregiving responsibilities, rising costs in rent, food, gas, and other essential needs. They're navigating an economy being reshaped by automation, artificial intelligence, and precarious work. If we look honestly at the challenges facing our students, many of them are not primarily academic. There are housing challenges, economic challenges, health challenges, technology challenges, and challenges of belonging. The budget and enrollment problems are symptoms of a deeper rooted, decades-long systemic problems. I do not believe a merger is the way forward. My colleagues have presented ample evidence that if we rush this process, it will create more harm than good. I don't think our task is only to reorganize the district to adapt to today's Oakland. Our task is to simultaneously radically reimagine what a community college must become for a future we need to build together. When I think about radical imagination, I think about the history of our district and specifically about the history and identity of Merritt College. I think about the students who risked their lives and founded the Black Panther Party. And I think about the lessons embedded in the Panthers' survival programs, that education does not happen in isolation from food, housing, healthcare, transportation, dignity, and belonging. I also think about Elaine Brown, the Panther veteran who recently spearheaded the development of the Black Panther building in West Oakland, who raised $80 million and is co-leading the great return of folks who've been pushed out of Oakland. I think about the communities that help build and sustain our colleges who've been displaced, folks that feel increasingly left out of the future being built around them. The Panther lessons aren't lessons from our past. These are the lessons we need most right now. And the best news is that when I look around Oakland today, I see people and organizations who've already been building pieces of a future where society stops chasing endless growth and efficiency and instead focuses on a society built on restoration, care, and resilience. I see the Berkeley Student Co-op demonstrating how to transform private housing into social housing and practicing cooperative economics and democratic governance models. They have 20 properties providing housing to over 1,300 students. I see the Security Land Trust and Community Land Trust across the East Bay reimagining land and housing stewardship. I see the Mandela Grocery Co-op and Arizmendi Bakery. I see the Black Cultural Zone, Homies Empowerment, Freedom Community Clinic, and countless grassroots organizations building community health, culture, leadership, and belonging. Have we engaged these future builders in our process? Have we invited them to the table to help us figure out who we need to become so we can collectively create the world we cannot live without? I will post the rest of this. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
That is all for public comment.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments and your concern for our district.
Do you have the presentation? So, trustees, before we begin, I want to acknowledge that today's discussion is difficult for many members of our community. And I really want to thank everyone for the care and for coming out and asking questions, expressing concerns, and advocating perspectives. People care deeply. You've heard that from folks. They care deeply about our colleges and have many different perspectives about the pathway forward. What I hope the board sees tonight is not simply a recommendation, but the result of nearly 2 years of engagement, shared governance, listening, analysis, and dialogue focused on one question: how do we best serve students now and into the future? So for framing, this is an update to the board. You had an update on these goals, the vision and 6 focus areas of the transformation a plan for the district at your January board study session. So again, our vision that was adopted, the 6 focus areas, and the method and 3 task forces and 1 governance committee that have been spearheading the work. So last summer, the board established a bold vision for Peralta, one that called on us to strengthen pathways, align resources, reduce fragmentation, and create a more coherent, student-centered experience. These goals provided the framework for the work that followed. Shared governance became the vehicle through which students and employees could help define what those goals should look like in practice. Before discussing the recommendations, I want to start with why this work matters. And you've heard a lot of it today. But also shared governance, alone is not about deciding about whether change should occur. Change is happening all around us, in our students' lives, as you heard, in higher education, and in the communities we serve. We spent a year listening and engaging and developing a governance process that you all wanted, a shared governance process. And shared governance is about ensuring that those most affected by the change have the opportunity to help shape it in the way in which it was adopted. It is through that process of engagement, dialogue, and collective understanding that we were able to make more informed decisions on behalf of students. The commitment has guided this work from the beginning. Shared governance, next slide, is not only meaningful if the people show up, engage, and contribute. The slides reflect the breadth of participation in this work: students, faculty, classified professionals, labor partners, administrators, college leadership, all working together to examine challenges and identify opportunities. And you see on this slide again the way the committee structure works to the district planning and budget committee recommendations flow to me as the chancellor and forward to you as the board. Equally important is, as who participated, was the process itself. Over the past 2 years, we've created multiple opportunities for engagement through summits, retreats, task force, committee meetings, surveys, listening sessions, flex day presentations, office hours, and ongoing communication. The goal was not unanimous agreement. The goal was meaningful participation and informed dialogue. So next, I'm going to, if we go back to that slide really quickly, I just want to again remind the board again about the appreciative engagement. We really restructured our governance process to have appreciative engagement, where we were defining an inquiry question or where it was that we wanted to spend our time as a collective versus being disjointed and across the board. And so that really began in the spring of 2025 and really helped us define what was before you as the board and the goals that you set. And then we have been going methodically through the appreciative engagement process from the define, discover, dream, design, and decide and deliver. And so task force and committee recommendations have come forward through that process. There have been opportunities throughout. Next slide. So now I'm going to turn over to Dr. Tina Vasconcelos to give an update on some of the task force and committee updates and recommendations.
Thank you, Chancellor. So just as a reminder, this is an update to what we presented in January, and it's directly linked to your goals. So first of all, I thank you for setting the goals that you did. They've allowed us to engage in this work over the last year, which has been really deep and meaningful, and you'll see many constituency members have been involved. So one of the task forces that we had was dual and concurrent enrollment. So dual enrollment is where we're serving high school students on the campuses in the community. Concurrent enrollment, of course, is when students from the high schools are coming to our campuses
and taking courses. And then we also added 4-year college students doing concurrent enrollment while they're engaged in their degrees and reaching their goals at 4-year institutions, and also coming back and taking courses in Peralta. So we started with data. Well, first of all, like our goal was to strategize and streamline the processes, and also to look at the data and who's actually attending the courses, what populations, and where they're attending. So we started with, which was presented to you last year, the 2025 dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment report. That was just specifically on high school students. So we grounded ourselves in that data. We had, you can see the different constituency members that were part of the task force. And I can say it was one of the best experiences that I've had in a task force, working with colleagues that were deeply involved in dual and concurrent enrollment on their campuses. We had 2 A&R classified professionals, as an example. They could share direct student experiences of what they've witnessed in enrollment strategies or struggles, in onboarding, and so forth, for both 4-year and for high school students. So we're looking at scheduling, looking at scheduling, looking at enrollment, looking at how do we streamline and how do we make a better experience for our students. Sorry. So here's the recommendations from the regarding the dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. So dual enrollment, we looked at how do we, look at streamlining. Streamlining, we're already partially centralized for some of our coordination. So the recommendation was to expand the coordination on streamline the enrollment process. So that's something we're looking at moving forward. Also, we looked at the importance of pathways. So this came up with dual enrollment, but also in concurrent enrollment too. How are we packaging our programs that we have? How are we marketing our programs, to whom and where? So looking at one of the recommendations is that each college create at least a couple of pathways to best serve our students. Another one was looking at creating a marketing plan. You're going to see this throughout the recommendations all the way through. It was really important, and the task forces and committees really focused on, okay, so we create these programs, what do we do next? One of the things that we struggle with, I think, is really creating concrete marketing plans and executing them for a targeted population, really selling what we do great. And part of what we're doing here in transformation is really sort of looking at what are the things that the colleges do great, how do we infuse resources into them, how do we market them, and then actually bring in more students from the community. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Concurrent enrollment, go back for a sec. For concurrent enrollment, we looked at the same sort of things. One of the things that also came up around this was really looking at how we're onboarding our students. So creating deep ways of how we're onboarding dual enrollment students, and also concurrent, and then 4-year concurrent students. So concurrent students come to us without us doing anything. By chance, they come to Peralta College, they take a course, it works for them at their high school if they're a high school student, or it's serving them and meeting their degree requirements. If we could package, especially for our 4-year college students, you can, if you can't get your course on your campus, say at UC Berkeley, you can actually come to a Peralta College and still be on track to finish your degree. That's amazing for our students, right? And for partnering with our 4-year. One of the things that we learned in our data was the majority of the 4-year students doing concurrent enrollment with us were our students in the first place. They transferred and they're actually coming back. The other thing that was really fascinating that we learned is they're also coming, while they take the full term courses, they're also taking the second 8-week courses. So they're enrolled in their 4-year college, wherever they are, and then they realize, hey, this course isn't working for me. I'm going to drop that course and I'm going to go take a Peralta course, right? We're a trusted entity for them, so they know that they can come back to us. So the same thing for high school students. How do we package? How do we market? Whether it's doing, A through G requirements, whether it's getting ahead in a degree or certificate that they're interested in, or getting to that 4-year college. Next. Distance education is another task force that we had. You can also see the constituency members there. The focus there was to really come up with, we said 2 to 3 fully online associate degrees. They were very ambitious and actually did 4 and a GE pathway. So they looked at data as well. So they looked at what are the programs that we currently have. They looked at programs across the Bay Area, who's doing distance ed, what are they, marketing, and what are they sort of bringing students in and actually having completions. They looked at also not only enrollment, but what's the success rates in online versus in person, and what's the course taking patterns as part of their data. So we can go to the next slide. Recommendations from this task force. You can see the degrees that were recommended. So, and you're going to see these degrees actually in the next section as well. So business associate degree and transfer, psychology, sociology, political science, all associate degree and transfers, all transfer guaranteed into a CSU somewhere in the state. When we're looking at the CalGETC pattern, which was also something here, this actually, we capitalized on that in a further recommendation that I'm going to share with you. So CalGETC, of course, is the GE pattern that students are using to transfer. Also, really important in every single line was integrated and equal student supports, whether it's distance education, so really doing an assessment of our student services programs that we have, how are we serving our students, what are we providing online, and where do we need to improve. Once again, marketing, that you can actually get a degree online versus students just getting it by default or because they found it themselves, and really sort of bringing in more completion around these degrees. So the Student Success and Enrollment Management Committee, this is one of the governance committees that's actually detailed in our handbook, and also the charge for this was to look at program duplication across the 4 colleges, and also to create an evening weekend college. You can see the members here. We can go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So what we did is we pulled all the data on the duplicated programs across the college. We looked at degrees and certificate, associate degree and transfer, local degrees, and also certificate of completion. So we had colleges that programs that were duplicated at 4 colleges, at 3, and at 2. And the goal was to look at, should they be at 3, 2, or 1 as we look forward and moving forward in the district. So we looked at enrollment data, we looked at completion data for those actual degrees and certificates. We even looked at transfer without a degree, looking to see what the enrollment data was saying, if there was something that we weren't seeing that we were missing in the completion data, because maybe they were transferring without a degree and we just weren't seeing that. So we looked at National Student Clearinghouse data to pull that information. Our degree completion was very, very low in all of these across the board. It was really hard to look at, to be honest. I hadn't looked at it this deeply across the 4 colleges. And because when I've been at a college, I've been so focused on our own college and what we were doing there. So the recommendations that you see that came forward were some of the degrees that make sense to have at 3, some at 2, and some at 1. There was a recommendation for deactivating the communication studies, the certificate of achievement, only because there's nobody enrolled in it and nobody is completing it. The 90% of the students in these degree programs are not completing. They're also not transferring. So the ability to really look at duplication across the 4 colleges, to streamline, as has been said earlier, to really pull away from competition with each other and to redirect resources so that we can actually market and sort of package the programs in a way, schedule in a way that students can achieve their goals, is amazing opportunity for us right now. Next slide. Here's our evening weekend college that we're recommending that we call OWN, online weekend and night. So we capitalized on what came through in the distance education committee, and we pulled that into doing weekend and evening. So what we talked about earlier was that CalGETC was one of the recommendations for general education online and packaging that. So then our committee then looked at how do we do evening and weekend and how do we best support and how can we plan it and package it so that you can finish your degree within 2 years. Well, we can do that by also pulling in online education. So OWN is our recommendation, the recommendation that the program be at Oakland City College. Also the recommendation was really steeped in deep integrated student services support at the same time of providing the packaged education programs. We looked at doing business and also allied health as our pathways. There was 2 pathways that came up as an initial recommendation. And the one thing that we looked at, we looked at data on the program completion and enrollment, but we also did a student survey. So the students surveyed, we did a survey through Canvas, and through that we had students that were already taking evening and weekend courses and those that weren't. And we asked them, would you take evening and weekend courses? Would you like more? What evenings would you like? What days and so forth? So from that, the recommendations are for Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, 2 nights a week, and also Saturdays. One of the critical things on this that's not in the slide is that by building in, so say if we start our courses at 7 p.m., and this is in a matrix, deeper recommendations, we start our courses at 7 p.m., open our student services from 6 to 7 p.m., our nighttime students can access those 2 nights, right? They can get to tutoring, they can get to counseling, financial aid, and so forth. Also, too, the recommended scheduling on a Saturday is from 8 to 9, have student services open, start your courses at 9, have an actual built-in college hour from 12:30 to 1:30, and then the rest of the courses. So though that packaging coupled with online general education, which could be actually packaged out, so that each term they can take so many courses, we can actually have students complete by doing this within, and these are working adults that we're really, marketing with this type of programming, but they can complete within 2 years. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the last task force was the Unification Task Force. You can see the membership there across the district. And this was really about mapping the practical steps to transforming into a 3-college district. And I do want to just say, one of the parts of this body was to develop a comprehensive communication plan. They developed FAQs, really listening, and felt like we needed to do more time listening to the community. And so next slide. There is a body of progress that this Unification Task Force did from envisioning the ideal student experience, which I'll get into more, but as people in the community have talked about, reviewing preliminary budget implications. So there were presentations after meetings with the Chancellor's Office related to the student-centered funding formula that happened both at the Planning and Budget Committee as well as at the Unification Task Force meeting. So information that was coming from all the task forces also flowed to the Unification Task Force to help bridge out some of the recommendations they were making. We also were able to get support from ACCJC in the beginning when the board set the goals in August. So to give us 18 months, an extension of 18 months to do this work so that we didn't have to do self-evaluation reports for all of the individual college, recognizing where we were headed. And the Chancellor's Office has worked with us on helping us, what you'll see and you've seen, which is posted and will be presented next on the tentative budget related to the SCIF, and we have been meeting with them about categorical funding as well. And we really have done things like the data summit that was done by our institutional research team, identifying policies and procedures that would be connected to this work. And we developed surveys on the student experience and did a listening session framework and conducted over 10 listening sessions to produce a comprehensive report and recommendations that you'll see. So we'll move to the next slide. So what we really asked, I think is important and actually gets to a lot of the comments that we heard tonight is we really began with what should every student experience when they come to our colleges? So I just want to through the process, we really developed a shared vision of the ideal student experience that emphasized the clarity, and much of what you hear in all of the other task force and groups helped inform this. So what we heard from students and employees is, number one, entry into college is confusing and fragmented, right? Students and employees described a system with multiple entry points, inconsistent processes, and unclear next steps. And you can see there are comments related to that below. Students struggle to navigate pathways and course requirements, and you can actually, from what Dr. Vasconcelos just presented, right, there's lots of evidence of that happening. And so just reminder, again, being in a small radius together, the way we've scheduled, the way we've done things, the competition between the colleges, right, the fact that there is a large swirl. And so what we're also recognizing is that our students take classes at more than several colleges. And then also, I'd have to tell you that our students are pretty tenacious in the sense they're cobbling together their own online degrees when we don't offer an online degree, right? Like they're cobbling it together from a package that they are working out on their own, which is why we've really dedicated time. So they're struggling to navigate the pathway and course requirements and have identified challenges with moving through their programs and accessing the required courses that they need. Next slide. So the third thing we heard overwhelming was the support systems are strong, but difficult to access consistently. So across all feedback, there was strong affirmation of the quality of support programs. So I just want to say that again. All of the services and things, there was equal concern though about how difficult it is to navigate them. How do you know? How do you get access? And everybody talked about the fact that at one campus it might be one way, and another campus it might be one way. And when a student goes to more than one campus, it causes additional complexity for them and for employees who are trying to support students when things are different at each of the campuses. 4 was systems and infrastructure creates barriers for students and staff. So participants in all the sessions really said consistently that we have a fragmented system where the tools and processes are major barriers to student success. So the data system issues not aligned across the campuses, like I said, administrative processes are duplicated and time consuming, so really difficult to do. And employees are often working around the systems, right, and process to meet student and program needs. And lastly, we heard belonging, relationships, and program identity are essential. So across the groups, there was a shared understanding that students succeed when they feel exactly what we hear, connected, seen, and supported. And moreover, I really want to just emphasize that employees also said they want to feel that community connection as well, too. So across the listening sessions, what we're really talking about is fragmentation to coherence. And we really realize that students experience as one system when we operate as many. So they really experience us and expect that it would be the same across our district. And the challenges cluster around 3 core areas: entry into our colleges, movement across the academic pathways, and completion of educational goals. And so we really felt like improving any of one of these in isolation would not resolve the broader issue. What is needed really is a coordinated approach to all 3. And so the Unification Task Force, this recommendation is coming forward where we'll begin over the next years to work as a strategic design on 3 core component areas. So pathways to possibilities, we're calling it. Pathways to onboarding, which is creating a clear coordinated start for every student, where it's a clear coordinated entry way with consistent onboarding across all of the campuses. Pathway clusters, so ensuring our pathways are navigable and aligned. So this means aligning schedules, what you heard, access to the high demand courses, integrating academic and student support services more thoughtfully. And lastly, really a focus on student completion, supporting timely, equitable completion. And I think that's a really important note to make here, that really, do we have achievable program as we put things in the catalog and say it takes 2 years to do it? Is it really actually, are we scheduling that way? Is there alignment between student educational plans and course availability? And how do we reduce excess units and closing those equity and completion gaps that we have? So what the work has taught us really is, and I think probably maybe this might be one of the most important slides in this presentation, is that different groups looked at the challenges through very different lenses, yet many arrived at the same conclusions. That consistency tells us that we are not looking at isolated issues. We are seeing the same challenges from multiple perspectives. So what we've learned is, as you heard tonight, right, students are working harder and staying longer than they should have to, right? 2 out of 3 Peralta Community College students experience basic needs insecurity. Students average 13.5 to 17.5 terms to complete a degree, and this is fall and spring terms, whether you're full or part-time. This is the average for those students. And students average 90 units to complete a 60-unit program. And so if our students' lives become more complex, our responsibility is to make their educational journey simpler. That's the core and the crux of sort of what this transformation effort really is about. One of the realities we must acknowledge is that this district has spent years making difficult financial decisions. Over the past 5 years, starting last year, while we gave ourselves this runway to do this really extensive planning, Peralta has implemented nearly $28 million in expenditure reductions. And those decisions have not been easy. They've affected every college, every employee group, and ultimately the students we serve. While many of these actions were necessary, they have often required us to focus on immediate challenges rather than long-term solutions. And so really what this work has taught us is that we cannot simply reduce our way we can't reduce our way forward. We can't continue to do that. At some point, we have to ask a different question. And so that question for me is, what kind of district do we want to be, and how do we organize ourselves best to serve students? And that was the role really that the Unification Task Force has taken on. And how do we address really what is sort of the thing is, I think ultimately for me, we can't continue to ask students to absorb the consequences of our operational and organizational challenges. That's what we see in the data. So our responsibility is to create systems, structures, and pathways that make it easier, not harder, for students to succeed. And really, part of this is addressing not just a financial question. That's not what we put before the committees, right? But how do we address the fixed costs for running 4 colleges? And you heard overwhelmingly from Dr. Vasconcellos, everybody saying, I just want to use this as an illustration. I just kept hearing her say, everybody's recommending more marketing. Everybody's recommending more marketing. If you could hear the challenging conversations over our marketing budget, I look at the 4 college presidents, I look at Mark Johnson, every single year since I've been here, they have been cobbling together dollars related to actually marketing what we do and being able to do it. These are the kind of things that we don't think about as like fixed cost or things that we could invest in. How do you prune in the right places so that we can do the things that we know we need to do to actually get to the operational challenges that we have before us? So transformation is not, for me, about walking away from our mission. It is about ensuring we can fulfill the mission for future generations. Next slide. So the recommendations before you are not the work of one individual or one constituency. They reflect the efforts of students, faculty, classified professionals, administrators, labor partners, and community members who engaged in this process from different perspectives and with different experiences. For many years, community colleges across California have often been forced to react to circumstances after options have narrowed. The work before us today reflects a different approach. It reflects a willingness to identify challenges early, engage people honestly, consider different perspectives, and make decisions while we still have the opportunity to shape the future. The resolution before the board tonight is an affirmation of the body of work. It recognizes the extensive engagement that has occurred through shared governance, task forces, committees, listening sessions, surveys, and community dialogue. It will serve as the strategic plan for the district moving forward. So it isn't that everything's going to be implemented. We are working, and each committee has begun working on laying out those plans, but ultimately it acknowledges the challenges facing our students and district, and reaffirms a commitment to creating more coordinated, student-centered, and sustainable future. And this really is the goal the board has put before us. So I appreciate, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Chancellor. So we have a chance to open up discussion for board members. Is anybody that has any comments? Paulina?
Hi, thank you, Chancellor, and thank you to members of the colleges and our community that spoke today and shared their concerns. I'm wondering, I guess I have a couple questions, but I'm wondering, Chancellor, if you can speak to the question of the categorical programs. You know, we heard today about street scholars, EOPS, disability programs, and potential loss of funding. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that concern. That's something that I really care about. So understanding how that is being addressed, or if that's been, if that's an issue that we should be concerned about, or if there's actual commitment to not lose funding for those services in a joint college.
So thank you for the question, Board Vice President. I appreciate that. So the district has been engaged in conversations with the State Chancellor's Office looking at categorical-based funding. I think it's a complicated conversation, and I'll just offer this. So categorical funds come to the colleges in multiple ways. They come, one, as funding that comes for one-time funds that come, to the colleges. They come as direct to the district that the district distributes, like student equity and achievement dollars would be an example. And then they also come oftentimes as colleges, like base funding for a particular college, right? So you have a college, you get a certain base funding level. So for basic needs, for instance, the base funding is $130,000 for college for those dollars. And so what the Chancellor's Office has said to us, and I'm going to turn it over to CO Nelson also to jump in here as well, is that what they've done is said those programs that are going where the dollars come directly to the district, we're not going to worry about those programs. A lot of these programs are based on full-time equivalent student counts too. So they look at your district-wide number and they give a dollar amount based on that distribution. So the idea between Oakland City College is we'll have a Laney campus and a Merritt campus. So we're not closing the doors on something that the FTS will be combined together into a size college with the center status there as well. And so what that does is actually there's not a reduction we do not anticipate major reductions based on FTS. So the areas where we are talking directly with the Chancellor's Office, we have a meeting next week as well, is related to the base funding college programs. So when we calculate those programs that have base funding, that's about $1.6 million that goes to base funding for specific programs. There are many programs like CalWorks that don't have base funding, financial aid technology, middle college, high school, nursing growth and enrollment, Puente, rising scholar. Like there are certain things that don't have base funding. And so it becomes those kind of things. So I'm going to turn it over to CO Nelson if he wants to talk a little bit more or add anything.
Yeah, thank you, Chancellor. So as the Chancellor mentioned, excuse me, items like Rising Scholars is an example for either the juvenile justice program or the adult program. They do not have base funding attached to them. So with the transformation of putting Laney and Merritt into a single college, there will be no impact because the formula used by the state will be the combined enrollment of those two programs. So nonetheless, other programs that you'll see that may come up have similar situations, but all programs, there's 113 categorical programs across the district for all four colleges. All of them have different funding formulas. They have different algorithms that they use to fund them as, and they're all listed in the compendium. But nonetheless, as the Chancellor mentioned, there's various forms of how we get our funding from the state.
So I think I just want to reiterate again, though, that the Chancellor's Office is highly committed. They've been working with us. They have all of their program staff at work. So all of these things are, and they're doing it because they believe this is the right thing for our district to be engaged in. So they're working through these things, the district, and we'll see it in the financial presentation as well. They haven't had a model where they've reduced colleges, even though they know that we need to do that in the state, right? So we are forging the way in some ways. And so that's where we are at this point.
Yeah. What in terms of that 1.6 million, can you name some of the programs that receive-based funding that are focused on maybe some of the underserved populations?
Let's see. Sorry. So some of the some of the bigger programs, the SAS program, for disabled student programs and services, what we call SAS. You have EOPS is another one. MESA, or Mathematics, Engineering, and Science Achievement. Mental health. Next up, Student Financial Aid Administration, and there's others.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I wish we had this come to us with some understanding of what the hit would be to some of these really important programs in terms of SAS and EOPS and mental health, and some understanding of what the state chancellor was saying to us about that. And then this question around the financial analysis beyond a couple of years, is that I know we have really looked at the financial analysis and the benefits that the district gains and the real need for the integration based on the situation we're in and prune to grow and like really investing in students. And I'm wondering if you can address the comment that was made around only looking out a couple of years and what happens beyond that.
So 2 years ago, the district embarked on changing the budget platform by which we project the budget. So we do the current year plus 3 years. Any years beyond 3 years is kind of a fool's errand because the percentages go down further out as you go. So, and as I've told the board before, you look at the current year that's coming up, we're fairly certain. Then you go out, you kind of drop by 25% for each year you go out. And so it's always a moving number. And so that's why we project the current year plus 3, and we take the current year and go backwards 3. So you can see a good trend analysis between what's happening across the budget. As far as, the categoricals also too, I would just also, I like to offer that we have a substantial amount of carryover funds from prior years that the district has not spent at its various colleges. So we are also in conversation with the state chancellor's office about allowing us to reallocate those carryover dollars for a lot of those grants that I just mentioned. Currently, we have about $2.5 million in carryover funds that the district has not spent on all of those programs.
Well, that takes us to, not even 2 years, right, of funding. So, and then I guess my last question is, Chancellor, you mentioned that the task forces were not set up for agreement. I think you said input. What did you say?
Oh, I just said we didn't ask them to figure out how to reduce. That wasn't like the sole focus.
I got some texts and calls, in support of the resolution today. I wish we had more task force members here, speaking about the process and what, and if and what they support. And so, that's disappointing, and just raises questions for me. So, I'll stop there, President.
Other comments? So, I've been a part of this district since I think I taught my first class in 1998 and came back in 2002 and 2003. And ever since I was a faculty member, part of the Senate, part of governance, we have fought and argued and fought and argued and fought and argued with this board, with our chancellors for a shared governance model that was based on the principles of the community colleges according to the state law. That shared governance, participatory governance was part of that model, and we can never get to it. But we have it now. And this shared governance body brought us a tremendous amount of work. And I sat in some of the last meetings, and it was amazing to see the work that was being done. If you looked at these documents, you saw the work that was being done, and it was acknowledged by many of the people that spoke for time. For me, as somebody that fought for that shared governance model for so long and believes in it so deeply, to try and say to those shared governance models, no, you're not right this time. The board's right, or the chancellors are, that we need to go now, or we need to pause. To me, I can't do that because this is something I fought for. The leadership that they've shown, the work they've undertaken as a board, we have to listen to that. That's something that all of our faculty, all of our classified staff fought for, and they've done that work. And not to honor that work right now by voting for this, to me, is just wrong. Despite all the arguments and money and everything else, and I think they look at those things very hard, it's just wrong not to believe that they haven't done that work. And I support that work.
Lewis, I've got my hand up.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've got a question and then a few thoughts. And the question that I have, Chancellor and General Counsel, is what is the formal consequence of the resolution that we have today? As I read the resolution, it's an affirmation of a process, but other than it being an affirmation of a process, it doesn't seem to carry any legal consequences in regard to, it's not a final step to merge colleges. It sounds like, it seems like, it reads like it is an affirmation of a process. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yes, trustee, you are. I felt like the body of work, the presentation, your board goal, giving you an update on the work of the task forces represented an opportunity, right, to actually have the board make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. So with that, what I notice in this entire process is that people care a lot. People who have put in countless hours doing this work, as well as people who are coming forward and saying they're really uncomfortable with what feels like something that can't be undone, something that is rushed, etc. But what I see is a lot of really competent people, and that gives me quite a bit of hope. Our board president just talked about this process of shared governance, and really when we brought in our current chancellor, having a chancellor who respected that process of shared governance, valued it, was really high as one of our criteria. And I think we did that well. And I think that process is unfolded. And for people who have spoken against this or written me and the board and signed petitions, I really urge you to go and look at the reports generated and the minutes generated through this process. You've got dozens of people who are representing wide constituency groups, many of whom have been complaining bitterly about the negligence of the district for years. So these are people who care and are now putting in a ton of work. So that's one thing that I want to note, and that
there's a car alarm going off in case somebody wants to. There's
a milestone here, and we want to affirm that, and I think that's powerful, and I think that's important. I hope my link isn't too bad here. The other thing I want to note is that, in merging two colleges, I don't think we're undoing any history. I'm excited about Oakland. I'm excited about Oakland City College. I think that the radical and progressive parts of the histories in this district don't go away with the merging of two colleges into a college that is called Oakland City College. I think, if anything, there's a real kind of honor in that. And the people who feel uncomfortable with the name Oakland City College, I guess I'm just going to ask you to check your feelings about why you might feel comfortable or uncomfortable there, but I think that's for me exciting. I also want to note that 2 years ago in 2024, when we adopted our budget, we were really facing existential threats to the district. We were facing a budget for the coming year of with a $27 million deficit, and then an additional $37 million deficit the following year. And so this work that we're looking at isn't just a merger. It's really a holistic plan that is meant to address not only existential financial threats, but really widespread dysfunction that many of us have been fighting to address for years. And finally, here we're coming together with a holistic plan to do that. And today, the vote that we're going to take isn't the end of a process. It's a milestone. And if those people who've said this is just going to be so disastrous, we can't do it, slow it down, well, we'll certainly know within the next year. And I encourage you, if you haven't been involved, get involved. And then be part of the process of trying to figure it out. I want to support everybody in this district trying to figure this out. So I'm really sorry I can't be there tonight, but I'm excited about where we are. So thank you. That was it.
Thank you. Cindy?
I've actually written out my notes here just to make sure that I include everything that I want to say. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for all the work. Thank you to all the governance bodies and the students, and just so much effort and actually seeing it documented and presented in this way from the very beginning until this particular point. And we're just in the middle of the process, right? There's still so much more to go. Has really been gratifying in terms of being able to hear and see so many different perspectives. And I do like your point being bringing the people together was not about getting consensus. It was about getting a lot of ideas out, talking through it and having those discussions. And I think that that is also particularly important. So this is really kind of what I wanted to say. Many school districts and universities and community colleges facing the kind of fiscal financial crisis that we've been talking about for so many years at this particular point, because we really have. And I would say we included in this have typically done a variety of different things, because we have done this in the 8 years that I've been here. That is hope that it will go away and do nothing and kind of ignore the situation, cutting with a deficit mindset, which we have done. I know we have done in the 8 years that I've been here. And cutting, responding only to the specific issue or concern, not necessarily having a plan for what's to come. And I think we've also found ourselves in that particular situation. To your points and the transformation plan, this is positioned for long-term sustainability, it's positioned for long-term growth, it's positioned for long-term organization, which again is very different from the A, B, C, D that typically what an organization or a district or a school would do when trying to solve a financial situation. And the reason why this is so compelling for me is that we're not just making financial cuts. We're doing multiple actions at the same time, which I think we've seen, we've voted on, we've discussed, we've talked about. It's also in the budget book. And we're essentially stabilizing the finances to prepare and ready the institution, the runway to be able to do what we need to do going forward. And I think even most importantly, and I'll kind of go back to Donald's point here, because he and I and many people have had these conversations, the four colleges in such close proximity with one another, given that in the past maybe 12, 18 years, the enrollment has decreased so much, it's hard to fathom in the same situation X number of years without doing anything about. And so I think what's important about the budget book, which for me was the kind of epiphany, is that we are doing what we're doing in terms of the transformation plan, but I am not seeing specifically in the budget that we're doing this based on that our enrollment growth is going to increase at a great level. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's if let's say we don't grow our enrollment as much as we'd like in 3-4 years, we're in a much better place to deal with it organizationally and fiscally 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that what we're going to be doing as an organization, not spreading ourselves too thin and really kind of doing all the implementation to get this organization or the district organizationally stronger and better and have the capacity, is going to bring in enrollment growth. But we'll be okay if the enrollment growth, given the demographic issues in the area and everywhere else, do not come as quickly as we direly want them to. So I don't know. I think my last statement would be thank you for all the work. It's incredibly revelatory to me. And I think that there's good stuff here.
Oh,
Thank you, Board President. I wanted to clarify comments I made about categoricals too, just to give context. So I think what I did is talked about the difference in the base. And I did want to just say between, if you looked at just Merritt and Laney College on the allocations in the programs that receive base funding, it's about $24.6 million that we're getting. So the 1.6 in, I just want to give context because I think I missed the opportunity to do that. And let me be really clear to folks. I'm a fighter statewide on funding community colleges. I know our board has been there talking about the need for us to do that we deserve more funding in comparison to K through 12. And I'm not trying to pit us against those systems, but for how much we get paid per full-time equivalent student, it is, in my mind, something that we as a system and a state need to really look at. But let me use an example. We fought for years for basic needs funding. There is a base allocation to colleges. Like I said, 130,000 goes to a base, right? So that'd be 130,000, but we get funded again by other metrics that go on top of that. So you're not just getting the 130, you're getting the FTS base or who you serve. But the point here is that we also have at one college over $466,000 of unspent dollars that we haven't spent over years of having the grant. And so that's what's hard for the state chancellor's office when we're talking about, we want to keep everything when they're saying you haven't spent everything. But the issue for me is not about this. It's exactly what we heard tonight from employees, what we've heard across the board is we are spread so thin with the fixed costs that are requiring us that we can't actually invest in the places where we actually want to invest. So I think we should be investing more in basic needs. I think we should be investing more on the places where we think that our students need support, like street scholars and restoring our communities and mental health services. Like this is the actual point of all of this. And I think it's hard to see it all here, but we get to decide where the abundance of our resources do. So if we can stop the competition between the colleges, reduce fixed costs that we know are going to happen, fund things like the marketing we need to bring people in, and actually identify where we want to grow a second year of a program that maybe is only funded by the state chancellor's office for 1 year, or saying we believe we need more than the small base that the mental health services get. How do we actually fund more? We'll have more dollars available to redirect to those things. So it isn't all visible today. What I'm offering to you is that the voices and everything we've heard is that there are lots of opportunities for us to actually be more nimble, do things in more of a coordinated effort that's going to, one, support student success, but allow us to identify the areas where we want to take resources and invest them there. And so we've started doing that strategy with the prune to grow strategy that you've already seen, being able to invest almost 100 sections back into the course schedules. That's been decades in the making of actually adding courses to each of the college's course schedules, to hiring full-time faculty. So part of it is it's hard to see out those parts, but I didn't want the categorical to be, I agree that that isn't enough even on its face. But what I'm saying is I believe it's far greater dollars, and we have the opportunity to invest what we have here already to decide that that's where we want to prioritize our funds to support increasing opportunities in those areas.
Sorry, I'm confused. What was the 24.6 and the 1.6 again?
So, Board Vice President, the 24.6 is the combined allocation of dollars between Laney and Merritt. I'm sorry?
Not big.
No, it's inclusive of the base funding. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Honors.
All right. Well, first, I just want to say thanks, Board President, for pointing out that we've had these task forces and committees that in your tenure here, you've not seen done as properly or as well as it's been done these days, I should say. And a lot of work and planning has gone into this through the district, through these task forces, these diverse task forces. And a lot of information has been placed out. There are websites, there are documents listed, minutes listed. At the same time, we have public comment from last meeting that was maybe 20 minutes long. Public comment this meeting, again, 20-something minutes long, with the voices of the community that does not agree with this merger, or feels as though this merger should be slowed down, or feels as though they need more information, or feels as though they haven't had the correct information, or they feel as though they're receiving information too soon compared to the vote. For example, the categorical question that you had, and now receiving this information a few minutes before our vote. And people online are hearing this information a few minutes before the vote. While we're in, and also Trustee Napoli Bellis-Reese sort of putting it in plain words regarding what we're in a crisis now and how this is a long-term decision. While a lot of work has been put into this regarding how can we dig ourselves out, there have been other suggestions that have been placed here in public comment that are, I would say, something to consider regarding reaching out to the community versus consolidating. I go back and forth between these two because this is it's a good idea. It's not the best idea, I wouldn't say, because there is a rich history regarding Merritt College and its ethnic studies, and as someone else mentioned today, the formation of the Black Panthers. How do we continue to honor that? I don't know, and I think that's an answer that a lot of people have had regarding, response that people have had regarding their concerns. I don't know yet. I'm not sure, and they don't want to find out on the fly either, or during, or be surprised, or have what have you. So as I was saying, this could be great for the district, but at the same time, so my job here is to ensure the district is well off, our students are well off, our employees are well off. We're doing as best as possible and hopefully becoming better and better, no longer just striving but thriving. My job is also to represent the voice and the concerns of our community. And our community has spoken out multiple times. They have sent emails, they've taken their time in the evenings. People are saying they work full time, they have children, they have jobs, they're in school again, all the things. And not many people, most of the people have said they just want it to slow down. They're not against it. They just want answers. And so for that reason, I would say today I'm going to represent the voice of the community standing here.
Trustee Delphine Park.
Thank you, Chancellor, CEO Nelson. I really appreciate. I also want to give an acknowledgement to everyone who served on the shared governance committees. I want to end everyone who is here, who took time out of their day to let us know how they feel, and who've been texting and calling and emailing. I've read everything that you guys have sent me, so thank you very much for that. I do want to echo a lot of what my colleagues have been saying. This process has also been extensive. I'm really hopeful at the shared governance processes. It's been a huge shift, even in this less than 6 years that I've been on this board. And it's making me really hopeful about how we move forward and make the big and tough decisions that we need to make as a board. So I really want to acknowledge the work that this administration has done and this board has done to really make that into a process by which we are able to be helped or assisted in making these decisions. I also do want to make sure that community partners, as someone who works in Oakland Unified, that community partners who would be affected by this vote in this decision have a chance to have their voices heard. And I know, Chancellor, you've talked a lot about, I believe it said in the slide deck 10, and I understand that there have been at least 10 community hearings or roundtables. I'm not sure what you call them. And so my question is, going along to what Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen said, that this is a resolution, what we're voting on tonight is a resolution acknowledging this process, correct? So my question would be, what are the next steps for this process? And are there more ways for community members to get involved in this process as we continue?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Trustee Delphine Polk. That's the idea here, right? Is we're giving you a body of work with recommendations. That means part of the steps. So the dual and concurrent enrollment, for example, those feedback came directly from partners that we've had in Oakland Unified School District about the inconsistencies, Alameda Unified School District, Emeryville, Piedmont, right? There are areas that are saying the system is very hard for us to insert in and get the right courses that we need. How can we have coordinated ways for do this? How do we outreach to parents more thoughtfully about concurrent enrollment options versus dual enrollment? What are we doing? And so we've used some of that work, and the reports that have been done have been presented to you at other study sessions related to the feedback that came directly from OUSD high school students who told us some of these pieces. So they've laid the groundwork of the data that's actually been looked at in some places. So now when we have the body of work and recommendations, we will begin actually engaging in other groups to talk about implementation, how we would do that, and laying out a strategic plan related to it. So it absolutely is. We're not stopping the work. It is an inflection point, like has been said before, and we're giving you an update on your annual goals and where you've had the direction for the district to be working.
Thank you very much for that, Chancellor. And I know we've talked a lot about pruning to grow, and we've talked a lot about the pruning. And we've started to kind of talk more about the grow, including the 100 sections that you're planning on adding on. I also noted that there was potentially 12 tenure track faculty positions that we're adding. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yes. So in the pruning to grow, so it's 100 section, almost equivalent of about 100 sections to each college. So I just want to be clear, it's not just 100 sections. And then looking at the ways that we can actually fundamentally restructure. So one of the things that I heard, and we heard overwhelmingly in the listening sessions, was people are also doing our students need a different level, what we said, of entry and doing things. So how do we actually relook at the resources we have to actually deploy it in another way? And so the Pathways to Possibilities model is really talking about how do we re-engineer or rethink about the human capital that we have too, and the way that they're telling us is a better way to serve our students more thoughtfully. But examples just initially are the ones that you've just raised. Sorry, there's been other operational efficiencies as well that we've been able to do through the pruning process to be able to invest in infrastructure development.
Go ahead. Thank you. Coming on as student trustee for almost a year now, I've been in a lot of rooms where this whole transformation process has been talked about and among all the task forces. And I've seen lots of support for it. Lots of administrators, students, and faculty who are going for this. As well as the other side, I've seen a lot of people against this as well. asking to slow it down. There are so many perspectives that I've seen and so many questions that have been asked. And I really want to make sure that as we move forward, that we don't just think about them, we don't just consider them, but that they keep being worked on, implemented in some way. The academic year is ending and we're seeing a wave of students depart either to transfer to work. And so we're seeing a wave of perspectives being lost. As well as in this fall, we're going to see a wave of new students coming on and a wave of new perspectives. And as we move forward in this time of change, I think the most important thing that I want to give from being in all these rooms, from seeing all these perspectives, is that we make sure the conversation is still held throughout. That every question or comment that was brought up today is not just left at today or at this live recording, but that it's still implemented in the next meetings. It's still talked about in the next meetings, every pro, every con. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I have a few things. My understanding is that we're not just voting on affirming the process. This vote is on the unification, correct? We're not voting again.
Thank you, Vice President. So the resolution, as you see it's drafted, it is affirming the process, and it is in support of the development of Oakland City College.
Right.
So there isn't before you, there isn't any formal action in terms of on this date, this college is now born, right? You're not birthing the college today. But you are continuing the work. And so the transformation planning is at an important juncture where the deep dive is about to get much deeper. The engagement is about to get much more robust. And as the system continues to invest more time and resources on it, it didn't want to stray from where the board was. So today is not a necessary legally required action. It's an action to be extraordinarily transparent and to affirm that the board's alignment is standing with this body of work, with this transformation plan, and that you're saying, yes, continue to move forward in these questions.
Right.
Does it mean that if in the coming weeks, something were to come before the chancellor that says, whoa, our timing needs to change, that wouldn't be before you again?
Right. But,
right?
There isn't a, there isn't a point where it comes back to us for full approval to, as you say, birth the college. Because it's at that point, it would have been done already pretty much.
And we haven't found any, in our legal research, we haven't found any place where where the question comes to the board in that formal way.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really are, so if the weight of the question is, do we support this idea? Yes, you should take this resolution as weighty in that way.
Yeah.
What I don't want you to feel as a board is that it is so highly technical that if the chancellor, if the process required a revisit or a change in some way, that your hands are completely tied. That is also not true, right? But so there is like
not legally tied, but it is tied in terms of the amount of resources and the amount of the process going forward. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking about so as many of you know, my son has been an SAS student at Laney, and before that at BCC. And I'm thinking about him, and I'm also thinking about street scholars, and these are the communities, mental health students that have mental health conditions, and these are the communities that are often hurt and stepped on in the times of big transformation. And so, while we're like visioning these things, they often get left behind or they get hurt in some way. And I hear you, Chancellor, around the idea that, we want to invest more in these services and in these programs, and that these changes will allow us to do that. But it's often in the transition where we're not there yet, that's where the harm happens. And so what I want to know is, you're meeting with the state chancellor next week. We have another meeting in June. can we, have a meeting with the state chancellor and figure out this funding situation around the base funding before we take a vote on this issue?
So I can't answer the question for you directly right now. What I can do is offer to you, certainly, serve with the pleasure of the board. I want to just give context again. So we did listening sessions with SAS and all these things. A lot of the recommendations that are coming out of the Unification Task Force are based on listening to the mental health group, to SAS, to EOPS, to CalWorks, to these things. So we really are trying to center the programs where our students are the most vulnerable, to actually center it around that work, which is different than I think any colleges or districts are really designing themselves to do. I can certainly turn over to COO Nelson to give more perspective as the lead with the state chancellor's office on the conversations around the categorical funds. For instance, right now, the district contributes about $556,000 annually to disabled students programs and services, or SAS, as we call it in our district. So outside of the allocation, so it's an example of, again, outside of a base allocation and then the FTS allocation that comes to, and we're looking at numbers for just those two colleges, the district is contributing, for that program, $556,000 annually. For mental health, the base funding for colleges is $100,000, and both of those campuses get Merritt and Laney get about $200,000 to $248,000, and one of the campuses has $206,000 in carryover funds for 2026. So again.
Also, can you point out where in the Unification Task Force, in the report we have, the recommendations for SAS students and mental health are shown?
It's in the comprehensive listening session survey on the Unification Task Force. And they all delved into the summary on the pathways to possibilities piece.
In relation to the meetings with the chancellor's office, myself and Vice Chancellor Vasconcelos have met with the chancellor's office 4 times now. We have another meeting into this week, and we also have another one next week. And so we've been chunking the categorical programs out in small increments. Some, as the chancellor mentioned earlier, do not have base funding, so those have not been the concentration thus far. What the concentration thus far has been is the ones that do have base funding. And what does that look like? And to the chancellor's point, the chancellor's office has had concern with a large amount of carryover funds, not just with these 2 colleges, but for the district as a whole. It's in the millions of dollars. And so trying to say we want to hold harmless programs while we have north of $10 million in carryover funds district-wide, it's concerning for the chancellor's office, because we obviously can't spend the dollars we get on an annual basis. So we keep carrying over multiple millions of dollars a year. So that's what the chancellor's office has been wrestling with, but also too, they have been looking at regulatory changes, as the chancellor also mentioned, about how does this impact going forward, because they know it will happen to other colleges. The state was built on growth. The funding formulas, categorical programs, all these programs are built on growth. None of them are ever built on shrinkage. And that's the problem they're having now, is they don't have any regulations on how to go backwards. And so right now we're kind of plowing the snow, if you will, with the chancellor's office on how to make regulations happen. And they've been working with their legal team, the attorney general's office, Department of Finance, et cetera. And so we've been working cross functionally with a lot of these different groups at the state chancellor's office. When I looked at my last count, there's about 40 people at the chancellor's office we've been working with over the past few months, trying to narrow down each one of these categorical programs. It's not a simple task, and it's not something we can certainly do in a matter of a week or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the categorical fund, the carryover only lasts for so long. I think you said it was like 2.5 million. So is there a way? Anyway, you hear my concern, and so I'm not going to try to give you solutions, but yeah, I'm concerned about it, and I'm not sure where I stand right now.
So one of the things every year when we go into our classrooms, we have a new class. We know that what we did last year is not necessarily going to work this year. And so we proceed, and as we move through our classes, we change to meet the needs of the students in the room. To me, this program is exactly the same way. We have a plan. We're going to go into the work and solve the problems as we come to them, because that's what we do. We're teachers, and we figure out how to get things done. The same way that we adjust to our students, we're going to adjust to whatever comes up. There are no guarantees in any of this. There are no guarantees the state isn't going to cut our budgets 10% next year. Who knows what Newsom's going to do, whoever follows Newsom. We have no guarantees there. So what we have to do is plan, make the best plan we can, and adapt to the changes that are coming. Because we know in our own case, so the SCIF formula says that every year we get the same funding, but we don't get the same funding because every year our costs go up. So if the schools are getting a 2% COLA or 3% COLA, they're not getting any more money. They're just getting what the cost of living increases. What we get is a 3% cut though, right now. So we have to deal with that fact, and we have to make changes that adapt to that. And we have to change our colleges to adapt to that. And we have to get in a position where we can start growing and get out of the nightmarish hell that the SCIF has created for this district and for many districts across the state. There's districts in Santa Cruz and Santa Barbara that are in much worse shape than we have, but they're not doing this hard work right now. They don't have a way possibly to get out of this work, and putting it off is just going to get the hole deeper and deeper, and slowing it down, in my opinion, is going to make that hole deeper. You have the talent. You have the commitment to these programs. I have no doubt that you're going to figure out how to make this work, because you've made it work in the past without any funding. You made it work in the past on your hard work, on your commitment to those students. And so, and I know what that's about. So we have to have some faith that moving forward in this direction, we're going to figure things out. We have a whole bunch of smart people in this district. We have a whole bunch of smart people in this room. And that's what we've always done, is we've tried to figure things out as we go through it. And we don't want to create positions that lock us in to a situation that we can't get out of. And I think that that's what this does.
Can't look, hold on. You can't look at programs that are serving the most vulnerable and say, we're going to figure it out. We've done it for free in the past. That's unacceptable.
I'm not saying we've done it for free. We've done it when we created those programs. Those programs were created without funding, and the creation of those programs generated the funding. That's what those programs generated the funding. The fact that they were serving funded students.
Yeah, Quinlan, I have a hand up.
Trustee Nikki has his hand up.
Trustee Gonzalez, you want?
Thank you. I want to come back to the very first question that I asked. And I understand there's some ambiguity. I heard from Natasha that legal research is inconclusive exactly right now, or that's what I heard. But to the best of your ability, could you please explain what in fact is the legal formal process of reducing a district from 4 to 3 colleges, merging 2 colleges? How does one do that? And what is the formal role of the Board of Trustees in that process, to the best of your understanding?
Thank you, Trustee. So our understanding is, as COO Nelson shared with you just a moment ago, which is there isn't a clear ed code section that describes how this is done. And so the conversations that are happening with the state chancellor's office is developing that process now, one that is likely going to set the model for the rest of the state. So you would think that there would be like a action that is formally required of the board. From my research thus far, this actually could go forward without any action of the board. That was not acceptable to our chancellor. The chancellor insisted that this program, that the work and that the question come before the board, so that we had that alignment ensured, that we were working in concert with the board as the district is moving forward, and as the shared governance processes have dictated. And so that is the action that you have before you tonight.
Okay. So that's helpful. I think it would be helpful for the board to get clarification on then what are the formal steps, and not just the board, but the entire district. What are the formal steps that we would anticipate moving forward that would legally bind the district to a course of action, a particular structure, et cetera. I think that's just critical for all concerned. I understand that today we're taking a very serious vote. We're saying, do we agree with not only the process here, but with the direction of the content? And so I'm good with that. But I think coming back with a formal thing to understand what those next steps are when you figure that out,
Well,
or what your plan is to figure that out, that would be really helpful.
So,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Yuen, and so I think again, presentations did happen about the notification to the chancellor's office in August directly. That's why we've been working with them on the board's direction that we got in August, and moving forward with those conversations. ACCJC, so our accrediting bodies, making notification to them about the board's goals and the direction that we're making. We've had meetings with the Department of Education, right? Because there are changes that get, in relation to that, and mitigating and the process, again, developing that process along with them. So for example, working with ASSIST and the state chancellor's office on curriculum alignment and making sure that it wouldn't be a cumbersome process while it takes faculty input. Faculty have been involved and beginning to look at the courses. It's not going to be a manual entry of everything, right? Working on, again, to Seal Nussen's point about building that out. But there are different pieces that do this. Again, the Unification Task Force has worked on identifying the policies of the district, the board policies that do list out the names of colleges. So there are steps that have been, laid out. The goal again today is to get the board's affirmation of the direction we're going in. I think, again, general counsel has explained, if something comes up along the way where we discern, so what you're doing is affirming the direction that we're going in. Spend more time and energy on developing out, right, these kind of things. So it could be, again, where we're having these conversations, we would come back with more information to the board and the community, more engagement. So this is where we are right now.
That's fine. I think the other thing that I want to just, a lot of us have worked on social justice issues for our whole lives. And typically the struggle has been against people that we perceive as being insensitive to or outright in opposition to social justice concerns. I think probably for everybody in the room, everybody on the dais, everybody who's been participating, there isn't any question about whether we want to have a socially just society. Vice President Gonzalez Britos, I think, raised some important questions. We've got real students here with real concerns. We don't want to harm them. And when I hear that, it's like I go, yes, that's true. That the challenge, though, is that we are harming them because our systems don't work. Our systems have been profoundly broken for many, many years. And so we're trying to take action through our best thinking. And I look at the people who've been participating in these many, many committees and subcommittees and meetings, and I think, well, these are the best and the brightest of this district. These are the people who I would trust to think carefully about our most vulnerable students. I don't think these people are insensitive. I think they're trying to work it through under difficult circumstances with uncertainty. But, uncertainty is going to be here whether we take a vote yes or take a vote no, whether we merge or whether we don't merge. What we do know is that right now, things are really broken and we need to fix them. And that the good things that are happening, that we go, well, we want to make sure those good things keep happening. Those things happen despite the underlying structure of the district. The underlying structure of the district has so many problems. So, it's really the goodwill and hard work of people working in broken systems. Let's do our best to fix those systems. Doing nothing here is not a choice. So, I hear people say, well, we could do these all without merging colleges. Well, we can also do them with merging colleges and do a lot more. So, I don't know, are we going to honor a process that we worked really hard to put in place of representative internal democratic structures? I think that's what we need to do here. Because if we don't honor that, what are we saying? Throwing up our hands and saying, well, just ad hoc it at the last minute? Because, why? What does that tell us in terms of solution if we don't say, no, we support this. We support the good work and the goodwill of people who seem to be on the ground and understand better than I understand from the dais what's happening in these programs. Thank you.
Cindy?
Yeah. I have a final comment.
Cindy?
Yes, I'd like to bring it back to 9.1. And
Sorry, let her finish.
And so back to 9.1, which is the consider adoption of resolution 25/.
Are you calling the question?
I am calling to question.
Okay, so I still have one more thing I want to say. So can I do that first? I don't think you can do that from the audience. Yeah.
Technically, how do I retreat mine to? Okay.
Nikki, I hear what Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan, I hear what you're saying. I'm not opposed to the merger at all. I think it's the thing that we need to do in order to create sustainability for the district. It's the thing that we need to do for students to make sure that we're serving them. I think all the work that the task force did is really important, and the work that the chancellor has led is really important. I think that I agree that the structures that we have are not currently serving the most vulnerable students. But there are there are programs within that structure that do serve the vulnerable students and more disenfranchised students very, very well. And we need to protect those as much as we can while we're making these transformational changes. And so if we don't do that, then, we're failing at this change. And so that is my concern. If we go too fast and we don't do this slowly and deliberately, and we don't answer these questions, and there's all this concern, and I'm hearing it from people here, then I'm wondering, should we slow down at least to have at least enough to have these conversations, and then figure out what we can do. We have one more meeting in June. If we have to work through July, then we work through July. So we don't take a break. That's all, that's all I have to say. And if you want to call the question now, if there's no other comment.
Louis.
I'm so sorry that our public comment period is closed and there isn't such a thing as a point of order from a member of the audience, but thank you for attempting it. Thank you.
So I would again call to question and let us go back to 9.1, and it is to consider adoption of resolution 25/26-212 to affirm support of the transformation plan and creation of Oakland City College.
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have 3 seconds.
Okay.
Trustee Reese made the motion, and I seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
Trustee Johannes,
No.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
No.
Trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Item 9.2, consider approval of Peralta Community College District's 26-27 tentative budget.
Thank you, Board President. I'll now turn it over to CL Nelson to give the presentation on the tentative budget.
Good evening, trustees. First, let me just start off by saying I appreciate all the comments tonight, and I'm hopefully, provide some clarification. But I really want to say thank you to all the Board of Trustees for what you've allowed us to get to this point, and I'll elaborate on that here a little further. But my partners at the Planning and Budget Committee, our labor partners, finance professionals at the colleges and the District Service Center, and all the faculty, classified professionals, administrators, and students who've really had their voices in putting this budget document together. Just a short recap. You can go to the next slide, please. Short recap of items impacting the budget. And as we do this, I want to remind, as we talked about a couple times, we sustained 10 plus years of budget cuts before we got into what I'm about to go through. And we documented that in several presentations for the board where, and I essentially said this in open comments, the district's been kicking the can down the road for so long, we needed to stop and just figure it out. Well, we started to do that. And as you go to the next slide, you'll see where we were looking in 24-25, and I've moved the guidepost, if you will, to the current year that's coming up. But you'll see this is where we were headed. Financially, through expenses and our reserves, we're going to be basically in this year or the next year going into the negative. And so you go to the next slide, please. Apologies. You'll see with the work that the board did in 24-25 to restructure the reserves for the district and move away from the 16.67% policy standard, we were able to rebench the reserve, take care of a lot of employment obligations for short and long term, and rebench the reserves to the point where we were able to create 2 years of runway going forward. Next slide, please. So as part of that, we adopted the BP AP 6250 on budget management. But within that, we not only created a new reserve policy, we also created reserves for deferred maintenance, equipment replacement, and a fund stability program, which we were required to have for the bond, which we never had before. Addressing those long-term liabilities, we did so through PARS, the Public Agency Retirement Services, OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, the negotiated SEIU vacation payouts due to the cap on vacation, and then the resignation incentive program we did last fiscal year. As a result of some of this, we did this right on the precipice of us going through the rating agencies that year. Apologies. And so we improved our credit rating scores across the board with Fitch, Moody's, and S&P. We were able to lower interest costs, and we also saved $13.7 million that year in taxpayer savings through bond refinancing because of our better credit rating, all because we rebenched the reserve. And then we created that 2-year financial runway. Go ahead. So some of the trustees have mentioned it. I want to show what we were looking at in the July 24 tentative budget and the July 25 adopted budget. And you'll see and those red numbers are real. They're really big numbers. And you see where by rebenching the reserve for 25-26 that we're concluding now, and for next fiscal year, we were able to stave off any budget reductions, unlike we had done the past 10 plus years. Next slide, please. As in developing a new allocation formula, we wanted to make sure it was mission aligned. So to bring you back to the student center funding formula, this page is right out of the budget book that we've used for years. As you know, the SCIF, as it's called, It operates off of 70-20-10, 3 buckets. And I've hyperlinked the October 2024 board presentation that me and the chancellor did at Laney College, which is a much more deep dive on the SCIF itself. If anybody in the public or in the general audience wants to have some better context around the SCIF if you don't know it already. So in designing that new student center funding formula, the SCIF is an appropriation formula. And the word appropriation is important. It's not an allocation formula. It's an appropriation formula. The appropriations come to the district, and it's up to the district to allocate those funds outward to the colleges to cover the investments for student needs and strategic goals. Working with PBC, or the Planning and Budget Committee, since last year, we worked on a new allocation formula designed for long-term fiscal sustainability, and we would plan to do this over the next 4 years. So we affectionately called it SPAM. So SPAM stands for Student Program Allocation Model. It's student-centered, it's data-informed, it's equitable, sustainable, and accountable. And it's really our district's student-centered allocation model that ensures resources are aligned with student needs, program impact, and strategic priorities. So SPAM is done in 4 phases. The first phase, which is coming up July 1, implement a base allocation model, which I'll go into in just a second. Ensure every college has the staffing and operational capacity they need to serve students. Phase 2 will be to develop academic program clusters, and we'll launch year 1 of 3 of transitioning, and then we'll transition over the next 2 years as well. Go ahead. So base allocation for the colleges is representative of a foundation allocation that ensures every college has core staffing. The core staffing makes up 30 positions for a small college. When a college exceeds a small college staffing level, it goes to 38 positions. But the small base allocation for a small college is $4.1 million. The remaining dollars are distributed based on that college's FTS and program clustering that the SCIF, the SPAM task force is working on through the summer and next year. So the colleges will receive a base allocation of 30 positions. Now, this is not necessarily the only positions they need, but this is to equate so every college gets the same base funding formula for baseline positions at the college. And this is A&R, the bursar's office, coordinators, deans, directors, executive assistants, facilities folks, financial aid, and so on. Then as you get to a bigger college, a medium-sized college, you get more accounting technicians, another director, a warehouse worker, et cetera. So all these positions were collaborated with the, I apologize, I should give you some more context. The SPAM subcommittee is a subcommittee of PBC, of Planning and Budget Council, and it's represented 2 administrators, 2 students, 2 faculty, and 2 classified professionals. And then recently we added 2 members of the institutional research teams, one from COA and one from the district have joined us as well for the data input section. Go ahead. So not only have we done the SPAM in each allocation, in each college's allocation letters this year, we also implemented the first level administrative change based on what's going to be taking place over the next year, and moved to an EVP model and a director of business services model. This is just the initial step of going to a smaller admin footprint. This is not the only step, but it's the beginning step. And as the chancellor mentioned, we've added about 100 sections to each college, or around 400 sections. We've added 12 new tenure track faculty across 10 disciplines through all 4 colleges, which is the first time in many years that's happened. So by doing these 2 things, we are showing the growth that we're trying to project in the transformation work we are doing. So as we go into the tentative budget, I know it's hard to see, so I'm going to blow it up on the next slide for you. Go ahead, Chancellor. So just I'm I'm going to follow down the yellow line that's on your screen. So you'll see the first item is vacancy savings. So in accounting, we call this a lapse factor. I don't want to bore you with that, but that's why we just make it a little easier. But the district has not budgeted vacancy savings. And what do I mean by that? So traditionally, a district, college, whomever, an organization will have some level of vacancy savings throughout a year. Now, usually trend and it goes up, down, sideways. So over the past 5 years, the district has looked at $5.8 to $6.3 million in vacancy savings per year, irregardless of reductions in force, irregardless of COVID, irregardless of growth. It's always been the same figure. We floated around the $6 million mark in vacancy savings annually. Well, if you're seeing that trend happen, you should be budgeting part of that funds. Kind of best practice is 50 to 60% of that number. You want to budget it, right? Because it's a known number that you're going to have. Otherwise, it just hits the bottom end of the year, and you could have been putting that on the schedule. So part of what we're going to do is we put that vacancy savings back in the budget, and that's where you're seeing the 400 sections come from, is by taking the vacancy savings of all 4 colleges and the district service center, and we're allocating that money back out to the colleges so they can put more sections on the schedule. We know it's going to transform that way, and the way we make that work is we recoup those vacancy savings. Basically, we scrape the dollars until we actually recoup that $3 million, and then the colleges are allowed to keep the rest. So based on a $6 million figure, we'll recoup that $3 million by January, and then the rest of the year they can use that those funds for other resources that they need throughout the district. Coming on down, you'll see the PARS investment that we plan to do next year for STRS and PERS for pension stabilization for out-year growth especially in PERS of $1.2 million. Then if you go to the right one column for projections, you'll see that I'm carrying the vacancy savings trajectory forward so we can continue those sections on the schedule. So it's not just a one-time hit to the scheduling. You'll see the increase in PARS for $500,000. And then you'll see the savings from the transformation plan. This is directly related to the administrative duplication between the 2 colleges, $3.1 million. And then you'll see the SCIF projections, and it purposely says tentative, not for the tentative budget, but it's tentative because this is the projections we received from the chancellor's office. Because in 27-28, we're slated to come out of hold harmless and into stabilization funding for the district as a whole, barring that our enrollment stays steady. If our enrollment starts to dip, we start flirting going back into hold harmless again. So that $4.2 million is based on us coming into stabilization funding. And then you'll see again in 28-29, additional funding and so forth. I'm going to come back to that in a minute in another slide I'm going to show you, because that number works on a it works on a 3-year lag of data that I'm going to show you in just a minute. One thing that's important for us to note is in 28-29 and in 29-30, we're still showing a deficit. We're not showing near the deficit we were projecting 2 years ago, much less a year ago, but we're in much better stead. And because, as I mentioned before, those numbers, when you get to those out years, they get less and less certain. That number is likely to tighten up as we get closer to those years. And then lastly, I would just mention 26-27 is the first time in many, many years, outside of getting additional COVID funds, that the district has not deficit spent. So this will be the first time we have not done deficit spending, basically burning down our reserves to make the budget whole. And we're meeting our reserve target of 8.5% for next year. We'll be a little over that. So I'm proud to say what the board has done with the reserve policy for this fiscal year, which set it at 8%. We're going to finish it a little over 8.05. Then next year and so on, you see that trend. We're trending back upwards on our reserve. We're holding tight to the reserve policy. We're maintaining those other reserves that I mentioned earlier, and we're not deficit spending, all to the good work of what y'all did 2 years ago, year and a half ago, excuse me. So as we mentioned earlier, the Chancellor's Office has been a very strong partner in the transformation work. We'll continue to, one thing I wanted to note is we will continue to receive small funding status for 4 colleges for FY 27 and 28. That is built into the projections. And the reason why is because the SCIF rolls in, it gives you money up front. So it basically rolls. So with us going to a 3-college district, basically we'll get an extra year of funding. That will fall off the following year. We are seeking to get additional protections around that hold harmless. Also, too, the current projections, as I mentioned, is informed based on the Chancellor's Office guidance and their projections for the SCIF. This also aligns with the creation of Oakland City College, combining Laney and Merritt, Berkeley City College, Alameda, and maintaining educational access through an educational center. And then we'll continue at our 4 college funding levels for categorical fundings for an additional year as well. And we're also in constant continuing conversations with the Chancellor's Office in that vein as well. Go ahead. Go ahead and keep. There you go. So you see, I brought the slide forward. That was the first 2 lines of this chart. So now as you come forward, you see the tentative budget. So not only do we have 2 years, because we get that extra year of funding for 4 colleges, it gives us 3 years of stabilization and funding, not just 2. We're meeting our reserves. And that last line I thought was important because there is some confusion around how our funding works. And so this is only for the 70% bucket of the SCIF. But it goes to show you that for 26-27, we're working off a 2021 through 2023 data sets. So we still have COVID. That's why as we get into 27-28, we start to come out of the COVID years. And that's why the enrollment trends start to help the SCIF numbers. And so I put those years at the bottom to give you a reference point so you can see where the data is coming from, because a lot of people think it's just from the prior year. It's actually further back than that. And so as we move forward, so for instance, if we have a dip in enrollment after we get into stabilization, it will take us a couple of years for that to catch up to us. So it'll give us time to plan for that. But it is important for us to try to maintain the enrollment at our current levels. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you for this, CEO Nelson. This is really helpful. I know you talked a little bit about going back on hold harmless if enrollment dips. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So in 27-28, we're slated to come out of hold harmless into stabilization. Now, all that's, of course, part of that's based on a COLA projection from the state chancellor's office, and that's if the assembly approves a COLA at that level, right? So it's based on what they're asking for, I'm assuming, through Department of Finance, based on their projections. So if you were to come out of hold harmless and then say the next year you drop, that drop would not affect you for another year or two, right? So you would have that stabilization funding, hence why it's named stabilization or part B of the formula. You would have that stabilization formula essentially to help you plan or to bring your enrollment back up so you can get back into stabilization. The goal of the chancellor's office is for colleges not to go back into hold harmless, is to get them out of hold harmless and moving forward.
Other questions on the budget? Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
So the motion was made by trustee Reese and the second was made by trustee Delphine Pope. Call the question.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez-Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice, trustee Delphine Pope,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 9.3, Chancellor.
Board of Trustees, item 9.3 is establishing authorized delegate signature authority. This is what we do every year to allow authorized signatures throughout the district.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
So the motion was made by trustee Reese and seconded by trustee Rito.
Student trustee Malik,
Yes.
student trustee Migliaccio,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez-Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice, Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yep.
Trustee Johannes.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 9.4, consider adoption of resolution number 2526-211, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Alameda establish a tax rate for bonds of the Peralta Community College District expected to be sold during fiscal year 26-27 and authorizing necessary actions in connection therewith. A motion?
Move approval.
Second.
So motion was made by trustee Delphine Bolt, and the second was made by trustee Johannes. Call the question, please.
Student trustee Malik.
Yes.
Student trustee Migliaccio.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Trustee Johannes.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now I have to recuse myself for a conflict of interest.
Item 9.5, consider ratification of payment warrant report for period covering April 1st, 2026 through April 30th, 2026.
Chancellor, is there any way we can bundle 9.5 and 9.6 together?
So moved.
So we have a move from trustee Gonzalez Yuen, a second from trustee Malik. Migliaccio, sorry. Voices carry, sorry.
Student trustee Malik.
Yes.
Student trustee Migliaccio.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Trustee Johannes.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Board of Trustees reports. Anybody? I got a bunch of. Okay, go ahead.
Fairly, I'll go. A bit of a reflective moment. This is actually my last board meeting. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to make the next one due to travel. So I just wanted to say a couple words of thank you. Thank you to a good chunk of people in this room. Thank you for your support to me, obviously. But there's a couple people that I specifically want to shout out. One's going to be student trustee. Well, when I first started out, I seriously I didn't know what I was doing a lot of the time, and he definitely helped me out and bailed me out of a couple situations. I had trouble responding to a lot of emails at the beginning. I didn't know how Outlook worked, but definitely like you helped me, guide me, and show me like what it is to be a student trustee. So thank you so much for your support. And another one is to Chancellor. Funny thing about the Chancellor is the word "I can't do it" doesn't really exist in her dictionary. It's really "how can I do it?" And she's actually never said those words to me before. That's not scripted, but her energy and her belief in those words is so powerful that you just feel it when you're in her presence. So thank you so much for your support. You've been extremely patient with me through all my mishaps, through all my, mistakes that I've made. So thank you so much. It's an honor to be mentored by someone like you. So thank you very much. And thank you very much to, again, all the presidents, Mark, Greg, Natasha, Tina, and the Board of Trustees that's giving me a lot of support. So thank you. That's what I said.
Anybody else?
Yes. So first off, I want to thank the faculty, classified administrators, students, and our labor partners who've done a lot of work to help us make the tough decisions that we have to make. Having a real voice in shaping the process and identifying both opportunities and challenges is essential to preserving the strength and legacy of our colleges while building something even bigger for Oakland. So I'm really excited to see what our next steps are going to be. Someone who is an Oakland resident, which I don't know if anybody knows that about me yet, but yes, I'm still living within my district though. I already checked. Your support for us reinforces the importance of having open, honest, and collaborative conversations. We appreciate everybody who took the time, and I know it's been a lot of work over the last couple of years to help us make these decisions. So thank you so much. And then the last thing, I was unable to make most of the graduation ceremonies since I was also teaching. But I was able to go to the Merritt College graduation at the Paramount, and it was fantastic. And it's so great to be with the students, to celebrate and continue to support them during a really big milestone. And so I really appreciate the Chancellor and everybody who helped make that happen. Dr. Johnson, He spoke very well and presided over a great ceremony. So thank you so much for that.
I just want to say I am sorry I missed the graduation ceremonies. I was out on medical leave. Glad to be back. And nice to see the student trustees complete their service. We are really lucky to have had you serve with us and wish you the best of luck on your journeys.
So, as usual, I got a bunch of comments. First of all, our graduations, they were amazing, all of them. Some people call it smile season. To me, it's like our Super Bowl week, the culmination of a long season, and the whole point of everything we do is watching the joy of our students as they move on to new parts and new missions in their life, and watching the joy of their parents and friends and family. And that celebration every time, it really gets to me. And it's the best part of being on this board. Second is the parcel tax. 87% is where it stands right now. Every time they take more counts, it goes up a little more. And that was a lot of people did a lot of amazing work on it. We had a good team, Chancellor's leadership. So I think that we can take a lot of pride in that and realize a lot of the parcel taxes in our area went down. They didn't pass. And so we can take great pride in that and take advantage of the community that supports us and lean into that support. Then the golf tournament yesterday, another great event. We raised money for our foundation. We raised money for our students, supports for our students for scholarships. And it was a great event. And you should have seen the chancellor selling things. She's got a future as an auctioneer. And then my final comment, to me, the work that's been done by our shared governance bodies over the last 18 months, 2 years since our chancellor's come in, and people really believe in that system now, and they've put the work in that system. And I think that just means that more and better things are going to happen for us in the future, that we just need to make sure that we support that work and listen to them. And, I think that's our job. It's basically the people that are on the ground doing their work every day with our students in the community, making our colleges work. That needs to be our guiding light. And that's it. And so convene in the meeting.
We have announcements, Board President.
Announcements?
Love Your Future. Enrollment is open for the summer and fall term. Visit the Peralta website to start the application or enrollment process. During June and July, the Peralta colleges are operating on a 4-10 schedule with offices open Monday through Thursday and closed on Fridays. PCCD will be closed on Friday, June 19th, and also on Thursday, June 18th, in observance of the Juneteenth holiday. That is all for announcements.
Thank you. Now we can end the meeting.
Take it out.